the fun, cool pop culture and character kind of questions.
Yep. So
Got it.
I think we are there and going now. AJC, we ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You're going to say hello to everybody? You always say, good evening, everybody.
We are live. Everybody, good evening. Welcome to the ATN Talk Show. Yeah. We are with this great, amazing guest, Bill Patton. We're going to get to him in about a minute. In the meantime, your host, Craig Bell.
All right, James Scott Campbell, let's get it going.
Yes, sir.
To another episode of the At The Net podcast, powered by Tex-Mex Productions. Working the soundboards in the back of the house are our producers, D-Mac and Dave the Brain. Time to say hello to your hosts, Craig Bell and AJ Shabria, as they're about to take us through 3 sets of tennis, talking life and all the news as it seems to them. Ladies and gentlemen, Craig Bell.
All right, thanks to our At The Net podcast girl Margot Carter for that. Now, this is a phrase tonight. It's not necessarily a word. Bravo Zulu.
Is that military?
It is.
BZ.
BZ. What's that mean?
BZ. Busy?
Well done.
Well done.
Well
BZ.
done.
Bravo Zulu.
In military jargon.
Love it.
For that introduction. She did a Bravo Zulu introduction, right? Well done.
I feel like I know where we're going with this because our guest tonight is fantastic.
It might be a hint.
His last name is Patton.
And welcome, fans of the great game. You're listening to Season 1, Episode 112. We're in the 112 category now. We're in the 112. Yeah, we're not in the 972 or the 469 or the 214. We're in the 112.
Or the 510. That's right.
Yes.
Of At The Net podcast with AJ Chabria, that's you, right?
Yes, sir. And Craig Bell, am I right?
We're talking the great game of tennis as it seems to us tonight. Thanks also go out to our good amigos at Tex-Mex Productions. That would be one Darian D. Mac McBrayer and Dave the Brain DeLeo. We didn't see the Brain tonight, so we didn't. Unfortunately, we didn't need the Brain. Hopefully, everything goes okay.
Craig is producing tonight, and he's doing great.
That's scary. We're on the road, and we got 3 wheels on the ground and one kind of up in the air. So we'll see how it goes. I'm moving the dials and making this look real, not holograms tonight. So we're live and not Memorex, right?
Love it.
Is that it? Also, be sure to like and follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Plus, check out our good work on Fireside, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker, CastBox, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and Spotify. I did that without one breath. Did you see that?
I love it.
Boy, I'm getting better at this thing right there.
Yes.
Basically, that's all the important communication sites the kids find popular today. I think AJ knows all those kids. They live in your neighborhood, don't they?
They do. I live in the neighborhood where everybody's doing podcasts.
And if you would like to read the opening intro like the great Margot Carter, knock her off the pedestal, then which is going to be tough. Because Margot just has that British voice that sounds very authoritative. Authoritative. I guess that's the word. Yeah. She sounds really good. In other words, right?
Authoritarian. No thanks. Authoritative is good.
Best.
Yeah.
Margot's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. Margot's the best.
Yeah. So
if the At The Net podcast causes bleeding from the eyes or ears, see a doctor immediately.
That's right. It does it that, and also to the brain. Also, too. So, speaking of Bravo Zulu, our guest this evening is certainly Bravo Zulu, and that would be Bill, the General Patton. So, General Patton, see right there. So, right there. Bravo Zulu. Welcome, Bill. How you doing this evening?
No, thank you. It's so nice to be here. You guys, one thing I appreciate about you guys is in comparison, I look somewhat normalish. So, this is... It's a fun place for me to be. I don't get to be in this space much.
Phil, what's normal? You're an out-of-the-box guy. We enjoy reading all your stuff.
Yeah, which box are you in tonight? Are you in the little box or the big box?
Well, okay, so somebody told me one time that I'm the most out-of-the-box thinker that they know of. And then I'm like, Alvin, where's this box?
What box are you talking about?
Yeah, how did you get in there?
That's right.
So I don't know. I think I'm wired a little bit differently than most, but I try to connect with the real world as much as possible.
Bill, we love that about you and appreciate that. And I do think the box is, it's a figment of people's imaginations. And I appreciate that you're able to not see it, acknowledge it, but not see it, and rise above it and go beyond it. And that's why your students, that's why your readers, and coaches whose lives you've touched and players whose lives you've touched have appreciated you so much. I want to dig a little bit here in the first set and figure out what got you a start, not just in tennis, but in thinking out of the box and innovating and writing so well and teaching so well. My impression is that you're not just a tennis coach. You were a professional teacher and then a coach. And I want to hear about what shaped you as a kid in the city. Oakland, is that right?
Well, I actually grew up as a child in the suburbs, and then as a teen, I spent my formative years in Oakland. So I do feel like a city kid, but my earliest years were in a suburb of Oakland. In fact, because the urban sprawl of the Bay Area had not yet happened, we were kind of known as the Boonies.
It was in the 70s. You were the Boonies.
Yes, the Boondocks, right? So, and where I am is pretty interesting culturally because Oakland and the greater surrounding area played a very big role in World War II, in that Kaiser shipbuilding was here, and so people migrated from all over the United States, Louisiana, Texas. Dust Bowl people came here. The Texas and the Okies came
like Craig.
During the Dust Bowl. And then during World War II, a tremendous amount of people left the South to come work here and have good jobs, and they stayed. So there's a lot of Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia people who migrated here. So there's a Southern flavor to the city of Oakland, which has rubbed off on me as well. So. Anyway, so that's now, in terms of the origin of how did I start playing tennis, I distinctly remember flipping channels on the old TV, right? And then tennis was on, and they were showing, I was 7 years old, and I was watching Rod Laver versus John Newcomb. Right. And I think it was like Forest Hills final or something like that. A fine September day. Right. And they were showing slow motion replays. And when I saw tennis played in slow motion, I was like, what is that? I have to do that.
Yes.
Right. So, but that doesn't mean that the story is really simple. So basically, I didn't have instructions. So my friend and I, played casually for quite a few years. I didn't really take any real good formal instruction until my later teens. Probably the best early experience I had was after my senior year in high school. I went to a Bob Hansen tennis camp.
Bob Hansen, I know
legendary coach of UC Santa Cruz, national champions.
The Slugs, the Banana Slugs.
Yeah, and I think now he's in Virginia. But he left an indelible mark. And then what I did not know was that he was a disciple of Tom Stowe. So he was one of those part of this Tom Stowe coaching tree. So I've become very much interested in that. And I feel like, secondhand, I'm a Tom Stowe disciple because I've gone to pick the brains of every known person who was influenced by him. Tom is regarded as one of the very best teachers of tennis that there has ever been.
Into his 80s, and I know him from Foothill Junior College, and certainly you could count Brad Gilbert as one of his disciples as well. Not just
I
Bob.
think that's Shivington.
Oh, Shivington. Sorry,
that's Tom
yes,
Shivington. Yeah,
Shivington. Tell me about Tom Stowe. Tom played with Don Budge and those guys.
He coached Don Budge.
Yes.
And so the way it's told is that Tom learned everything he knew about teaching tennis by coaching Don Budge.
Incredible.
Don Budge was the first one to ever win the Grand Slam. In fact, the term was coined after he did it because he intended, no one had ever attempted to play all four majors. And so he intentionally went to all four to win them all. And when he did, then the newspaper said, it's a Grand Slam, a la baseball.
Yeah, all four.
And that was the coining of the term Grand Slam championship by an Oakland guy
Don Budge,
Oakland guy, wins the Grand Slam.
1938, the first Grand Slammer, yeah. Well, thank you for the clarification on Shivington and Stowe. Keep rolling. I love hearing about how you learned from Hanson, yeah.
Well, I think the most important thing was that it was the concentrated going to a full week tennis camp that made me realize that I really indeed do love this game. But because of some of the things that I was recovering from my teens, I got into some significant trouble in my life as a teen. It took until I was about 23 to actually make up my mind. I'm going to start playing this game and never stop.
Really?
And so, at the age of 23, I just put my foot down and I said, look, I'm going to play this game for my own reasons, not to please anyone but myself. And then 3 years after I started playing competitively for real, then I started coaching. So that was in 1988. I started coaching. So that was interesting. So, I started coaching, and it was funny. A friend of mine who's recently passed was pivotal in that, because he was the first one who ever said, "Hey, you know what, Bill? I think you'd be pretty good at coaching. You seem like you have the kind of personality that you would be good at that." And so I started in earnest, and now it's 34 years later.
It is. Tell me about intertwining coaching tennis in your 20s and 30s and beyond, and teaching school, and how those have helped develop you either separately or together.
Yeah. Well, I think most people would be surprised to find out how good of teachers high school coaches really are and can be, because they have a teaching credential. So, I would say that the psychology degree that I got in school as industrial psychology taught me an awful lot that would later help me. I mean, I use every day the principles that I learned in industrial psychology as an undergrad. And then I pursued a master's degree in education, and also, to pursue it was a combined program, master's and teaching credential. So I wrote my master's thesis in the overrepresentation of minorities in special education.
Interesting. In special ed.
Yes. Well, and there's a reason why, because that wasn't what I intended to study. What I wanted to study was a connection between high school dropouts and prison recidivism. But there's only one problem. There's no research on that, because nobody cares about that issue.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I was excited. I thought, I have a perfect thing that I'm just going to love. And I went and tried to find other research to tie to, and there's none. There's very, very little. And what little has been done was the work of Angela Davis. And so I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to really dig in with the communists at this time. So, I went for a slightly different approach on that. But no, I mean, if you can teach math in the inner city of any city in America, then teaching tennis is easy. Because you're when you're an inner city teacher, you've got a hostile audience right there in front of you. So, being able to, use your crowbar to get those brains open to receive some information, there's a special determination, will, a little bit of bullying that goes on, and also to be able to defend yourself, not be under attack from those monsters, And when high school kids can be rough, man.
When you say under attack, physically, mentally?
Well, I've had high school students threaten me with violence.
Physically.
But it never came to anything.
Yeah.
But but still, you're like, wait a minute, I'm teaching you.
Yeah.
You need to sit down and be quiet. Because look. I mean, anyway, we shouldn't digress into that too much. But no, wasn't all that common. But I will tell you this story. Okay, remember Sidney Poitier in Concrete Jungle?
Yes.
Right. And somebody throws something at him in the classroom. That happened on my very first day teaching. My mentor teacher, was like, okay, training wheels are off. You're on your own. Teach, right? And the very first day I was teaching school, a kid threw something at me, and it bounced off the board, right? And then I turned around. I'm like, oh, you kids are trying to intimidate me. Oh, yeah, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I might look clean cut, but I've got a little more grit than you might be accounting for at this time. So the kid did it again.
Same kid.
So at that time, I'm like, I triangulated in my mind, and I turned and I went, you, and I pointed right at the kid who did it. Yeah. And then chaos ensued. And it all worked out because I got my man, right? In fact, it's after a very tumultuous rest of the period because all the kids were mad at me because I was persecuting, an innocent man, the last kid out of class, I'll never forget this, Hawaiian kid, real nice, soft-spoken kid. Everybody else is gone. He comes back and he leans back in and he goes,
well done.
He's like, yep, you got your man.
Yeah.
I'm like, thank you. He didn't snitches get stitches. He didn't snitch. He just gave the thumbs up.
It was discreet, but it was the message you needed to hear. Hey, Bill, you are currently at a country club, and we'll get to current and future projects. We're mainly interested in the book, the new ebook, and the books that you've written in the past. But
awesome.
How has teaching inner city kids math and coaching tennis prepared you for life as a country club coach?
Well, it's funny because it's not a fair question because my country club is not like most country clubs.
I see. Tell us about it, Bill.
And honestly, I would say that even here in Northern California, this is perhaps the only country club where I would fit in well because our clientele is just so low key and down to earth and just very warm and friendly, community-driven people.
I see.
So I've been to country clubs where I wouldn't survive a week because I'd probably tell somebody off.
I'm glad you didn't say because some of those 40-year-old ladies would throw something at me.
No, I mean, well, figuratively, they would. No, and I've taught in places where honestly I really didn't like the people that I was working with.
Really?
Their priorities were all screwed up. So I always do the best I can for everybody, whether I like them or not. But it is just so idyllic when you're in a place where you just feel like you really fit like a glove, and that's where I'm at right now. I love the management of the club. They're very intelligent. They're amazingly, they plan well. They consider my interests in the mix. They listen to what I tell them. They don't always do everything exactly the way I say, but when they don't, they explain it to me. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can live with that. And that's unusual in clubs, because, many clubs, the management kind of has this lack of transparency, lack of two-way communication, and it's just sort of, their way or the highway, and they're going to do everything they can to milk your program for as much money as they can get. And you have to fight for every biscuit, right? But my club is very intelligent in that they understand the value of the service provided and that they make their money in dues.
Yeah.
And they make good money in dues.
I'm sure they do, Bill. And as you describe management styles, I can't help, my mind is drifting toward some coaches who aren't as successful as they'd like to be. They adopt that management style. And the management style that you're under sounds to me, you mentioned listening, collaboration, transparency. These are some hallmarks besides wisdom, judiciousness, and overall knowledge base. These are qualities of a great coach, which I know you to be. And I want to use that as a transition into the second set. As we talk about current and future projects, I wouldn't mind talking a little bit about a book that you wrote that I loved, The Art of Coaching High School Tennis. And the most recent manuscript, I'm sort of asking a two-parter because I know you'll get to both. The ebook that I just got to sample, which ended, you even used a couple military references, which is probably why this guy wants to call you General Patton.
General, I loved it. Yeah,
and it wasn't really that you are the general. It was more that you are training these players to be the general of their own army on a tennis court. And I loved that line, and I loved that you used Stephen Covey's great line, "Begin with the end in mind." With all that in mind, tell us about the favorite books that you've written. Maybe you can end with the one that you're currently working on.
Okay, great. Well, my favorite book is The Athlete-Centered Coach.
Yes.
And that is what I would call my magnum opus. And the secret sauce of that book is that I had written 80,000 words, and I thought I was complete. And then I had an hour and a half long conversation with a master coach. Maybe you know Scott Ford.
I definitely know the name, yeah.
Scott is involved in the Evo Sports Group, and it used to be the Esalen Sports Institute. But some of the brightest minds in all of sports, the Michael Murphys, anyway, I don't want to name all those people, but
sure.
So after this conversation, I had this aha moment where we had a new theme that needed to run through every chapter of my book. And it was this really bad feeling that I was going to have to completely rewrite it. So I set that one, I set it down. I was like just getting into the summer. So I was like, you know what, September 1st, I'm going to look at that again. I can't look at that now. I need space from that. So I completely rewrote it. It came out to 125,000 words, 400 pages. I put it next to Plato's Republic, and it's bigger.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
I put my book next to, so Plato has envy. Yeah, you know that kind of envy?
Yeah, that kind.
And then, and then I had my 23-year-old son, who wasn't really getting along with at that time. I had him edit it, and he's a better writer than I am. So he ripped it to shreds. And I got these amazing comments like, is this supposed to be a serious book? Because they were like a lighthearted thing. He's like, he's not letting me off the hook for anything. And he was like, you have to completely rewrite this paragraph. I do not understand what you're saying at all, right? Because sometimes when you hire an editor, they're too nice. You can't have a friend edit your book. And so I credit my son for having really polished that book up amazingly well. So it's my magnum opus. I wish more people were seeing that and reading that, because it's essentially everything I know about coaching and have ever known. And it's also things that I've learned from great coaches that I've interacted with on many levels. So, world-class coaches of national championship or world championship or, number one players in the world, to college coaches, to very successful high school coaches, to recreational level coaches. I mean, so coaching is this wide band of influence, and there's room at many, many levels for people to see themselves as part of a player's timeline. And so, you were talking about, the mindset of most coaches. One quantum decision everybody can make right now is to shift their mindset from being, this person exists on my timeline, to I exist on their timeline. So now, here they are at this time of their life. What it is that all that they bring with them. How do I get them to that next place that they want to go? Right? Instead of, this is what I do, we're cranking out sausage and just doing it the same way every time, cookie cutter approach. So that's probably the one takeaway from that book that you could make right now. And that the theme that runs through that book is doing everything at the right time, space, and place for that person. Because, like the famous case of Jan Silva, the 5-year-old identified as a prodigy, right? And then Mouratoglou gets him over there and they run the kid through the meat grinder. And where is that kid? I mean, he's hurt. So people do a lot of really bad, developmentally wrong things with children. I mean, you could almost call it child abuse. So then, ready to talk about a different book, or do you have anything you want to talk about Athlete-Centered Coach?
I even the title says that Athlete-Centered Coach, that we exist, the coach exists, and what we're doing is on their timeline or in their existence, which I think is fantastic. Let's shift to your shift from visual, Bill, to brain sport, Bill, and that's a good way to talk about the current book that you're about to release.
Okay, if we can back up just for a second, I just wanted to mention that the two hardest chapters I had to write for the Athlete-Centered Coach were about Aaron Hernandez and Larry Nasser.
Tough stuff.
So I just wanted to kind of throw that in there because, I wanted to make sure that I addressed some of the incredible problems of coaching, right? Okay, so
dig in right now. This is good.
Yeah. So visual to brain, right? Okay, so it's really funny how things happen sometimes and they catch you off guard. You have your agenda, you're going forward with your agenda, and then somebody hits you sideways and you go, wait a minute, that's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
Right. And then you think about it and you go, oh, wait, they're right, I'm wrong. Or, I'm not completely 180 degrees wrong. I'm not going the wrong direction, but I need to change course a little bit. So I got really interested in the visual aspects of playing sports in general, but then, obviously more specifically tennis. And a lot of the research shows that saying things like watch the ball and keep your eye on the ball are either nearly worthless or mostly misleading. And then what happens is players either accidentally learn to see the ball well on their own with their own schema, right? Or they don't and they quit. So the mission of that book is to give every player, every coach, a full range of visual skill teaching so that, when you meet somebody who's in the smaller group of players that won't learn that way, that you have skills to teach them. So I'll give you an example. So people say, keep your eye on the ball, but what does that really mean? I mean, it's an indefinite statement. Keep your eye on the ball. So what do people interpret it to mean? They interpret it to mean keep laser focus on the ball at all times, which leads to saccadic motion of the eyes, and you get that gray out. And I don't know how many times you or I or the people we coach have thought they had a ball all lined up for a winning volley. And then, then they don't center it in their strings and it goes right in the middle of the net. And instead of winner, you have embarrassing error.
And
because they thought they were looking at the ball. And then I'm sure everybody listening to this can relate to feeling like, what's wrong with me? Right?
Right.
What's wrong? How could I have possibly missed that? Well, you were looking at the ball wrong.
Uh-huh.
Right. So, there's a different way to do it. And then when you say watch the ball, that means almost nothing. So keep your eye on the ball is misleading, and watch the ball means almost nothing. So a quick tip on that: if you include a where and a when in your tip, you pretty much can't go wrong. So nearly 100% of the players that come to me, and I'm talking beginner to 5-0 men,
Mm-hmm.
nearly 100% of players that come to me do not see the ball coming out of the opponent's racket.
So there's a where and a when right there.
That's a where and a when, right? Because the where is contact and the when is when they hit it. So if you simply go tomorrow and you just say, I'm going to say hit every time the other player hits the ball,
Mm-hmm.
the only way you will be able to say that is if you're actually looking over there, right? To see that. And it's funny how people don't realize they think they're doing it. And the only reason I say nearly 100% is because I can't remember if maybe there was one who was. So that would be one counterexample, and then it's not 100%. But pretty much nobody does that. So then what happened is I was kind of teasing people with this quiz that I had created so that I could expose their incompetence in the subject. So I made a 6-question quiz that generally people were getting 2 out of 6 questions right. And to me, these questions are fundamental. And very few people got more than 3 questions right. And one of the questions was, what's your most important body part in tennis? And it was multiple choice: arm, right? Feet, right? Eyes, and then one other, I forget, right? And so, but then people were answering brain. And I'm like, I'm sorry, that is not one of the choices. So what I didn't realize is I was getting my comeuppance, right? So, here's the interesting thing.
Yeah.
60% of what your brain does is related to vision.
Mm-hmm.
So I was putting the cart before the horse because
You were emphasizing the eyes.
I was putting the cart before the horse.
I see.
Because 60% of what your brain does is visual. So I was on the side of, okay, well, I'm majoring in the majors. I'm in the 60%. But then I had to realize, oh, wait, there's another 40%. And what the first thing that I do when someone first walks on a court has nothing to do with vision, but has everything to do with their brain. So that was the origin of going towards neuroscience. So because one thing that coaches don't account for is the incredible anxiety that a new or even a returning student enters the court with. And this is something I learned in education, and my master's in education is about the affective filter. So the more anxiety your student has or you have,
Mm-hmm.
the more filtered the information is. So they are less likely to be able to take on new information if they're feeling anxious. So here's a common scenario. First lesson, the person doesn't know where they're going. They leave too late. They get lost, blah, blah, blah. Anything happens. They come in 10 minutes late. What do? They slam the car door. They run in, and then, and they're, right? And so now that means it's going to be a really bad lesson, guaranteed. So I go, wait a second. I'm like, okay, bring it down, right? And then, here's the funny part. They're feeling badly for me. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm like, oh, well, you gave me a 10-minute break. So, And then here's the thing that almost always puts them at ease. I'm like, remember, attendance is optional, payment is mandatory. Right? And then they go, oh, okay. So once they figure out I'm not mad, that helps them to calm down, right? But every lesson that you give, every single lesson that you give ought to be an entree into low anxiety state at first, low anxiety. And then, as you warm up and as you go, you take it to the limit of where things start to break down, and then you work there. And then, because as soon as there's some kind of failure, then anxiety is going to kick in again. So you have to dwell in that spot and learn how to keep people down. Now, there's something called the Sylvan Learning Institute or something like that. I don't know the full name of it, but they did some research. They hooked people up to biofeedback devices and they studied their learning, and they found that people whose brains were operating at 19 cycles and lower per minute were doing genius work. And did you notice how I'm talking slower? And people whose brains were operating at 21 cycles and above were nervous, upset, worried, and mistake prone, right? So then when you're in a hurry, then you don't measure twice, cut once, and you make mistakes. And then, you can't glue wood back on, right? So not easily. So, to slow down, I don't know how many times I'm working with my players on, okay, I can see that your brain is operating overtime, right? So you need to slow down. This is a much more simple thing that we're doing than you are giving it credit for. And I think this explains that phenomenon that people say about the top athletes who the game slows down in their mind. But, I think that's not well said. I think what is really true is they have slowed down themselves. So everything else around them slows down.
Brilliant stuff.
So in digging into that, now I'm doing a lot of research because I'm going to transform visual training for tennis into a similar book that will be 60% visual, but it's going to feature more of the neuroscience. And yeah, there's just been some 90% of what's known about the brain has been learned in the last 20 years. Wow. And I would say easily somewhere around 50% in the last 5 years. So there's so much information that hasn't been even disseminated to the public because who cares? Because, because people are too busy to stop and think about that stuff. So, I'm digging in, and, I think by the end of it, I hope to be one of the most knowledgeable tennis coaches on applicable neuroscience. And ready to teach that. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm helping people to live healthier, happier lives because they understand some key principles of neuroscience. And now, probably the biggest problem that gets solved is that people are outliving their brains.
Right.
So because people are living longer because of medical advances, but their brains are not living at long. Now people are doomed to 5, 10, 15 years of dementia. So where's the quality of life in that? So
it used to be only a few years of dementia, if that, because the body might give out.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, now it's longer and more painful for everybody. And so this is my new mission now is to live to 100 walking and talking and really push this out, really get people the message that right now, today's the day that you're going to start learning some practical neuroscience. So should we get into the top 5 things you should just start doing right now today?
Let's do that. I know in your book you talked about how can you improve without devoting a lot of this to nutrition and fitness and all that. And I see these all as related. So you're welcome to put those in. But give it to us. What are the 5? Yeah.
I like to say you don't have to diet or get in the gym, right? How to improve immediately without, because you know what the first 3 letters of diet is, right?
D-I-E, die.
That's right. That's why people don't diet, because they don't want to die, right? I don't diet. I can't remember a time that I dieted since, I think I might have dieted when I was in my 30s. I was on the Robert Haas diet for a bit there.
Eat to win.
I dropped 3 minutes off my 5-mile time.
Not too shabby.
I had a diet today. I had a diet caramel sundae at Brahms. I had 2 dips. Was that good? It was great. It had caramel sauce on it. It had some pecans. Man, that was awesome.
Craig, you're the enemy.
You're living.
Craig's the enemy. All right. Number one, sleep. Sleep is your superpower.
It's the number 1 performance-enhancing drug in the world.
Yes, sleep is the number 1. Yes, it is. Roger Federer says he sleeps 10 to 12 hours a night. If he doesn't sleep 10, something's not right. Nadal is like 8 to 9 hours. Many of the elite athletes are sleeping 10 or more hours a night. Yeah. Because they need that. They need that because they have to recover from all that brutal work they're doing. Now, those of us who are normalish, need to be in the 7 to 8 range. Older people might not want to have more than 7.5 hours. So if you're over 65, then 7.5 hours could be problematic for you. Now, so if you're listening to this and you're that person who says to themselves, that they're on some kind of exotic super success plan where they get up at 4 a.m. and they work until midnight because you don't need sleep, you're lying to yourself and you're killing yourself. So I'll just, let's just put it right out there.
Yeah.
Right. You're lying to yourself. I used to tell myself that. I've dramatically increased my amount of sleep. I'm so much more productive, clear, blah, blah, blah. So when it comes to sleep, what they're saying right now is every day of brain fog is 1 step closer to dementia. All right. So number 2 is drink water. You need to be hydrated because your brain is a battery. And one thing I love is I have my scale and I have my app on my phone and I can show you my hydration right now. Right. And lately, yep. I can also show you Craig's hydration right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I'm trying to spill it.
Show him your drink, Craig.
Cheers, I did. Buddy. I was. I spilled my Topo Chico. I got so nervous about it that
Schweppes ginger ale.
Yeah.
Schweppes.
All right. So, and so you need to measure that stuff. I mean, I've recently cut way back on my coffee because I'm struggling to get my hydration up, and I have a certain goal that I'm trying to achieve. The next thing is brain foods. And if anybody emails me at infinitevisioncoach@gmail.com, infinitevisioncoach@gmail.com, I will send you a list of foods, 10 different nutrients that perhaps you haven't thought of, or you've never heard of, and the foods that support them. And all you really have to do is add another serving of that one thing a week, 2 or more servings of that a week, and just modify how you eat a little bit. I mean, I'm not somebody who's going to say, go crazy. Just slowly change your tastes, and you'll be interesting to see how that transforms itself over time. All right. But the short answer is more omega-3 fishes and green leafy vegetables. That's the short answer. But there's astaxanthins, neoxanthins, omega-3s, beta-carotene, vitamin D, and more. lutein. So I have this list of foods. I'll send it to you for free. It's no big deal. You just give me your email and I'll do that. The fourth thing is a gratitude practice. And recent research is pretty bizarre on this. It runs counterintuitive.
Really?
Gratitude helps you. So watch this. Hey, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you, AJ and Craig, for hosting me.
Thank you. Gosh, thank you for being on here.
Now, what just happened to your brain? Did you feel something in your brain?
Of course. I mean, outwardly, it's probably...
I felt a tickle.
Okay.
I felt a tickle up there.
Okay. Now, here's the thing. Gratitude helps your brain plasticity when you receive it.
Not just when you give it.
It's the opposite of what you've been told, right? Okay. But now here's the tricky part. Is anyone ever going to express gratitude towards you if you never express it to them?
It depends on the day, but yeah.
So go out and send out gratitude into your community, and it'll eventually get back to you, right? But if I go, oh, now AJ is obligated and Craig are obligated to immediately thank me back, well, then you need to stop being a crybaby.
Then it's not real. So, it's not real gratitude anyway.
It's not real gratitude. And one thing that you'll find among the very greatest people in this sport of tennis, there is so much gratitude that is expressed. I've been really blown away by how, when I talk to somebody who's one of the greatest coaches ever, how humble and gracious they are. All right. And then number 5, alcohol is bad, right? So there's a guy, Dr. Daniel Amen, and he has some great TED Talks that you might want to look at. He got involved. He was interested in psychology, and so he actually got started in medical imaging. So he was doing brain scans. Mm-hmm. He was doing MRIs and PET scans, and they've got all these different names, for different types of imaging. So then he got interested in psychiatry. So he went and got his doctorate, right? He got it, became a doctor of psychiatry, because he said, wait a minute, if somebody has a broken bone, we look inside to see how is it broken, so we can find out how to fix it. How come we don't look inside people's brains? So now he's done over 160,000 brain scans of people, and that data is showing some really amazing stuff. And one of them is the deleterious effects of alcohol. Really? And now this is where we have to have the confessional moment, because I'm pretty famous for partying pretty hard at different places. So there could be somebody watching this who's seen me at my worst, my best and my worst. Want to hear? Okay, ready for a funny story?
Please.
So I was out with Ann Worcester, right? Is that how you say your name?
Worcester, right? WTA fame,
and
big CEO,
yeah. And I was out with Ann and Dave Fish.
Dave Fish, we know him as Universal Tennis.
I was fully inebriated, and Dave was picking my brain for stuff. He was just asking me questions, and I was giving him all sorts of stuff, right? And then in the morning at the conference, he said, "Oh, Bill, that was great. Your ideas were so great." And I'm like, you know what, Dave? I have no memory of our conversation at all. But apparently, I'm still kind of smart when I'm drunk, but that's all to point out my hypocrisy. But you know what? Lately, I've really been cutting back on my alcohol and my coffee, and I'm having a lot more clarity. Doesn't mean that those kinds of episodes won't happen periodically in the future, right? But you consider the toll that it takes, because alcohol does considerable damage. And then another thing that people are maybe not cognizant of is that they might have had a brain injury. This is also number 5 because it's kind of the brain scan thing, knowing what's in your brain. You may have had a brain injury when you were younger, and you don't realize that the effects of that are actually ongoing. So part of what has actually completely changed the course of my life is when I was in a pretty catastrophic car accident and had a major concussion. And I mean, it was a pretty severe brain trauma. So not just your everyday concussion. Mm-hmm. And so, I was having migraines for 6 months. I was having light sensitivity. I lost emotional control. I mean, I was just having flashes of rage over stupid things, and nobody really wanted to be around me. I lost a lot of clients. I pretty much hit rock bottom. And so at that point, then I had to stop and reassess and sort of rebuild everything about how I think about everything I do. Because all of a sudden, it hit me sideways. And so that was a pretty big moment. And, I'm curious, I think someday soon I'm actually going to go get a brain scan because I need to see, if there's still, some effects from that. Part of the reason why I have somewhat halting speech, I think, is from brain injuries that I've had in the past. And I try really hard to keep talking without going, but sometimes it's those adversities that we face in life that become the watershed moment that we build from and go on. And I think that's true of anybody who achieves anything. They're going to have some kind of hardship. So those are 5 things that you can do right now to think about for your brain and move forward, and work your brain out. Oh, I will leave you here. Wait, a bonus one.
Oh, right?
Good. There's an app that I urge everyone to get, and I'm not too pushy. I'm not a really pushy guy, but I will urge you to do this. Get your little mobile device out right now and go to your app store or your whatever and get Brain HQ.
Brain headquarters, Brain HQ.
Brain HQ. No, do it right now. Be a good example. Show people you doing it right now, and then they will also do it. AJ,
I was sharing stuff, so I'm getting off Facebook right now.
Love it.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
See, that's good. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. It was developed by Michael Merzenich. He from UCSF, a research hospital here in San Francisco, and he's probably the leading expert in the world on brain plasticity. He and some doctors from Stanford.
Is that it right there,
That's the
Bill?
one. You got it. That's the one.
Right there with there you go, everybody, right there. Okay.
Brain HQ.
Okay, got it.
And they have developed some exercises, some little gamified little things that you can do for 5 minutes at a time to work your brain out. And, I've recommended that to people I know who have survived strokes, and they've had really good results from it and coming back quickly from a stroke. But, my wife and I, before we watch TV, we'll do one exercise,
cool.
just to keep it moving. But, I urge you to do that and then share that with everyone you love, because you're going to help them. You're going to help them to have a healthier brain for longer.
Bill, thank you for the 5 things and that bonus on cognitive exercises. That is awesome. Brain HQ. Thank you also for your vulnerability and your confessions, not just about the funny part, the alcohol, but the head injury that you are doing your best on. I must tell you, in the past 4 years, I've gotten to take a lot of great courses on many different things, mostly pertaining to business, but the one I did on brain health at this amazing brain center, UT Dallas has a campus kind of up here, not far from where Craig lives, but downtown they have another campus that's devoted just to magnetic resonance imaging, PET scans, things like that, and these conclusions that simple things, really, that exercising your cognitive abilities will delay a lot of that cognitive decline that we see at my age, you know, Craig's like at our age in 50s and 60s and certainly 70s and 80s, and they made a big deal. You know, you mentioned take the phones out, and we're like teenagers. We've got the phone right here. You know, how many years have I gone with the phone is in my desk, and I might be over there in a meeting or on a court, and I'll get to the phone later. And now the damn thing is right there. And what ends up happening is all the multitasking that we are doing that contributes to that player who comes to the lesson late, slamming the door, breathing short, and weirded out about how you're going to feel about it. And really, my goodness, a lot of these very, very high level and granular studies on the brain talked about how sequential tasking is so much healthier than multitasking. And that's one of the takeaways in a one semester course that I took there in the past few years. Yeah. And, you know, maybe this is a final thought on this, but please try to remember things. Don't ask Siri for everything, right? Go, wait a minute, what do I have? Remember things, and then your hippocampus will thank you later. I love that advice. We want to shift a little bit back to some questions from the audience that are live right now. One of them, this is a little improv class that you've probably taken in the past, and it's going to come to light here. This is a great one from, and I want to gear this toward players and coaches, so feel free to do part A, part B if you'd like. This is from a really, really great tennis player who happens to be a coach in this area in Texas. His name is Nick Smith, and he's asking, does Bill Patton have an opinion on USTA development programs? A second part is, what ways would he change things if he had a chance? And this is coming from a coach asking a coach who's really, really intelligent, not just on the neuro side, but on practical coaching of country club players and high school students. All right. Well, I'm a lifetime USTA member. You did the lifetime one. Good for you. I did. I'm a lifetime USTA member. You too. Smart. Yeah. I'm a little reticent to talk about that. I'm going to talk in generalities. All right, what are best practices and what are not best practices? Good. And with so, us. I mean, because however this is interpreted, I don't want it to be interpreted as taking a swipe at the USTA. No. Okay, that's the last thing I would want. But what we're seeing is that and this is sort of social data. This isn't real research, but you get 50 tennis coaches together and you say, what are the best practices? Right. You're going to hear this answer a lot, that players need to be with a developmental coach for years. They need to be with that first good coach that they find who's working with their game. They need to be with them for years, 3, 4, 5, maybe more years. Because if that person has a wealth of knowledge, you want to pick every last little drop out of that. The worst thing you can do is jump from coach to coach. Interesting, yeah. Or have a foreign, meaning not yours, a different coaching philosophy forced on you, right? So we have, what we do is we have cookie cutter solutions to things. This is how we do it, right? So, I could actually do that authentically, but I'm going to. Yeah, come on, Montel Jordan, you could do it. This is how we do it. Anyway, so that's pretty good. I think he's from Oakland too, probably. Yeah. All right. Don't get me started talking like that. Okay. I can. Yeah. No, I can survive in the hood to this day. I bet, man. Yep. Get out there with my peeps. So anyway, no. The problem is cookie cutter solutions. The problem is forcing players into a mold. The problem is, this is how we do it. I see. So like think about Fabrice Santoro, right? So Fabrice Santoro was not accepted into the French Tennis Federation program. This is not how we do it. His game was so wacky, right? Yeah.
And then what did he do? He loved putting it in the face of them as he's having this, 15-year career in the top 40. And he's one of the toughest outs on tour. Nobody wants to play him.
Oh, he had a winning record over all these top 5 guys.
Yeah. Oh, Santora's in my quarter. Yeah. Oh, no. Right? So because the USTA seems not to allow outliers.
Mm-hmm.
They have their parameters, and if you're not in those parameters, then they're going to try to fix you. So I think that's ill-advised, because part of what makes tennis special is the uniqueness in which people play the game. And that's why I wrote the book, The Top 5 Strategies for Winning Tennis, because most Americans play either a power style where they're hitting the big serve and the big forehand and finishing the point quick.
Mm-hmm.
And then beyond the third or fourth shot, they don't know what to do. And the other people are kicking their serve in and running around like a rabbit on the court, and they just start grinding, and they're sort of just mindlessly rallying, waiting for the other person to miss, or to turn it into a physical contest of wearing them down. But most of the smart players around the world play one of the other styles, which are pressuring time and space. That's what Federer's doing and has been doing for about the last 3 to 4 years, right? Pressuring movement, right? And that's what Djokovic does, because he's the best mover. So let's make it a movement game. You try to move me, I'm moving you more. Who moves better? Nobody more than me, right? And then here's the funny thing. I don't think people realize that Nadal is the best disruptive player. So this one is disruption. When you see Nadal play live, you realize he's taking different cuts at every ball. He never delivers the ball in the same way twice. Sometimes it's got 3,600 RPMs, sometimes 2,000, sometimes 5,000. And so watch how off balance people are when they play Nadal. And that's what makes the Federer-Nadal matchup so magical, is Federer is the most on-balance player maybe that's ever been, right? So it's kind of like Borg-McEnroe good, right? So I would say that's the thing that if the USTA could shift towards helping players identify where their strengths and weaknesses, go into a game style that actually works, that would be wise of them to do. Mm-hmm. But I just simply can't answer on a global level, what is it that they are doing right or wrong. So
fair enough, and a great answer for really all of us. Thank you for the 5 styles too. I think that's consistent with what we see out there and what we'd like to figure out what a player is going to do well, and not put them inside a small box, right?
Yeah. I mean, because think about it this way too. Yeah. I mean, if your coach is forcing you to play a style of game you don't like, whose game is it?
It's his game in my body. No,
right. Yeah. It's his game in my body. I mean, and it's funny because when I took full ownership of my tennis at 23, mm-hmm. so I played the way I wanted to. At first I was a counter-punching baseliner because I didn't know any better. And then a friend of mine was like, hey, you know what? You're kind of tall and you have a good serve. Yeah, and why don't you serve and volley? I'm like, nah, you're crazy.
No.
So in 1 hour, I became a serve and volleyer. My friend Bruce was like, hey, let's go out for an hour. I'm just going to show you a couple of things. We're just going to rally a little bit. Then I was like, hey, this is pretty cool. And so in one day, I became a serve and volleyer full time. Yeah.
And here we are. That's awesome.
Do you think serve and volley can come back again? Because, I mean, you see the players on TV. It bugs me that I'm like, we're probably close to the same age, and it just bugs me to no end to watch people, and they have people off balance, and they don't come in.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. So, Craig O'Shaughnessy has shown that serve and volley gives the highest winning percentage of any play in tennis, 67%. So it is true that it can be done. and it is done really well. So, but how much?
Yeah.
There's a story about Tommy Haas went to Nick Bollettieri and asked Nick, how much should I come to the net? And Tommy and Nick said, all the time, and then you'll get your answer. Yeah, right? Because if you're coming to the net all the time and you're just getting passed all the time, then you need to come in a little bit less.
Yeah.
So here's my solution. Serve and volley would return to the game if one of two things happened. If polyester strings were outlawed and there was a certain parameter, measurable, elasticity of a string that was allowed, right? Or if the court were narrowed by a foot or two to mitigate the angles available to, because of the polyester string. And then that would also eliminate the 6'10" behemoth serve-only players who can't even return, and they better hope to win a set in a tiebreaker. Because they're going to have to actually be able to hit more balls. They can't just go doing and then have that ball go, 7 feet off the ground and 120 miles an hour. So, yeah, but, I've been now saying that particular thing for 10 years now. So I'm probably another 20 years away from it happening.
So what about a guy like Pat Rafter, Stefan Edberg, Paul Annacone, John McEnroe? Could they play in today's game, in your opinion? Is there a place for them?
Oh, absolutely. I think anybody from any era could play today. And the reason is because they would have all the resources available that are available today. And they wouldn't be playing with 78-inch rackets or 90-inch rackets. They would, so, yeah, I mean, people are incredibly adaptable. So I think you could plug them in and they would play just fine. I mean, how good would they be? I don't know. They might, So, I mean, if you look at old film of Bill Tilden, I mean, a 4-0 could probably beat him.
Yeah.
Today's 4-0 could probably beat him. Really, go back and look and go, oh yeah, I got 4-0 guys that can play better than that, right? Better ball speeds and all that. But then what he was playing with like a 20-ounce lunk of something with steel strings, or what I mean? And the balls are like, don't even bounce. So,
I remember my dad said that when he played tennis in Oklahoma, they went to basically a grocery cart, and you picked out balls based. They didn't have any pressurized cans. You just picked them out of the grocery cart basically, and then bought whatever they were.
Like I would with an avocado. Like
that's right.
It was a rubber blob.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, the game used to be a lot heavier. So they're if they're driven athletes, and so you give them all the nutrition and the sports science and all that, So, yeah, I mean, I don't. The only era versus era argument that I ever engage myself in is that Michael Jordan is hands down the greatest basketball player of all time, and nobody comes close. So
even LeBron, Kobe,
no, because
even Larry Bird,
MVPs, and then the Defensive Player of the Year
award.
DPOY, and he's always all defensive team. So
Unbelievable.
Not Rick Barry from Golden State. You don't go with your boy Rick Barry from the Golden State Warriors. Did the granny,
Right. Okay. So that 74 championship team, 74-75 championship team, right? So it's Rick Barry, the Rookie of the Year, and 10 role players, and they just ran the floor, and if they didn't get an immediate bucket, kick out to Rick for a 30-footer.
3.
Right? 3. Yeah. No, well, there
was 2 at the time, but yeah.
But he was still shooting from 30 feet. But that team was amazing because they had 12 guys who could play. Yeah. Everybody on that team played. So the art of coaching high school tennis, you ready?
Yes. In unison.
See how I'm keeping myself on task?
Yes, we are. I mean, we're good.
I'm managing myself here and enjoying it. All right. So the art of coaching high school tennis is perhaps the greatest transition for me forward to now. So it's opened up a lot of doors, and it was born from the idea that, people dismiss high school tennis. And so what they do, here's what people do, and it drives me nuts, is they complain endlessly about things, and then they never do anything substantive to fix the problem, right? Oh, if only high school tennis could be better, but I'm not going to do anything, right? So I decided that because I had 25 seasons of high school coaching experience, that I had some things to share. Might not be the most successful high school coach in the United States. I might not have the most experience, but I've got some things that worked. So I'm going to share what I have. And when I started writing it, I mostly wrote it for myself. I just wanted to complete a book. And if it helped one person, fine. And if nobody else bought it, okay. I finished my book, right? Because 25 times I had written the first chapter of a book only to read it, crumple it up, and, walk away crying, And so I enlisted a friend. My friend and I were starting to do life coaching. So we would meet every week, and I was helping him with his work-life balance, and he was helping me with writing my book. Uh-huh. So I set the goal of writing the book in 6 months, and every morning I would get up and I would write for 30 minutes. And I didn't have to write well. I just wrote for 30 minutes.
Right.
And if I was particularly inspired, then I might continue writing. But I had to do 30 minutes. I had to get 500 to 1,000 words on paper every morning. So I did that, cranked that out. And, and so every morning I'd be like, okay, is there something I haven't thought of yet? And then sometimes I would be like, oh, I think I already wrote on this, but I think I have more on that. So I just got this I got 40,000 words on paper, right? And then that's one of the interesting things about writing is there's no such thing as good writing. There's only good editing. Nobody writes a great first draft.
Right.
No one. So if you want to write a book, write your book. Just sit down and start writing. And write and write and write and write and write and write and write, okay, until you're done writing. So you just feel like everything that could possibly be squeezed out of your brain has been squeezed out of your brain. Write about something you know about. I knew about high school tennis, so I can write about that. And I'd coached multiple teams, so I felt like I could represent different types of teams because I had teams that were, rich schools and high-performing teams to middle-class schools and up-and-coming teams and rock-bottom last-place teams in poor neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't going to be something where the book's not valid because it only talks to the top 1%. See, now, and this is another thing. This is off the topic for a second, but one thing that this chaps my hide.
Yeah, tell it.
Right? New York City. Anyway, so that organizations put on high school coaching clinics and they invite elite level coaches and Division I coaches who know absolutely nothing about coaching high school teams.
High school ball, yeah.
Yeah. And then they might get one high school coach, maybe, but they are in an elite private school that wins every year. And then you're supposed to translate that to your team that's half beginners picking up a racket for the first time. And then you just go, so there's this huge disconnect. So I wanted to fill that gap. So knowing that, this book is that solution. And my original publisher editor told me I told too many bad stories about times I'd made mistakes. So I had to cut back on those. But it's a blend of here are some things that work, here are some things people don't expect, here's what it's like working with teenagers at a team. Here's what it's like to work as like an outside coach working at a school. Because school culture, you got to figure out that school culture. If you don't know the school culture, everything's going to hit you sideways. And then how to set up your workouts, what are some fun games to play, how to do on-court coaching, how to, what can you expect in interacting with other coaches? Because, pretty good percentage of them are bozos, right? So, so you have bozos and bullies, and then you might make a friend or two, but they're pretty far in between, right? But how do you deal with that? I don't know how many times I've been in a high school coaching meeting and I've said, hey, shouldn't we do what's best for all the kids? Yeah. And hey, aren't we here for the kids? Because, everybody comes with an agenda. They want what's best for their team. I'm like, wait, no. There's going to be 127 kids in this tournament. Yeah. Should we make the best decision for all of them? And they kind of look at me like, what? Yeah. So that's happened far too often. But now, since 2014, I haven't really gone back and really counted, but I think 5,000 copies of that have sold.
Oh, I love the case studies, good and bad, and the success stories. And I'm glad you weren't afraid to delve into both sides of that. Yeah.
I mean, and I tell some stories about mistakes that I made, and sometimes you have to eat crow.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the worst things, one thing that will endear you mightily to teenagers is when you admit you made a mistake. How often does a kid in high school have an adult that says, I'm sorry, I did wrong?
Not many times.
Almost never. They'll almost make it, they'll just go into denial. Then it's like, it never happened. Yeah. So there have been times I've had to say, like, in front of my whole team, hey, Stefan lost his match yesterday, but I'm going to take full blame for that. Because the game plan that I cooked up that he believed in a little too much didn't work. And he had so much faith in me and that game plan, he lost. So moving forward, I hope Stefan will say, are you sure, coach? It doesn't seem to be working.
Some critical thinking.
That's one thing I really love is when I go to my player and I say in between on a changeover, I'll say, hey, what's going on here? And the kid tells it from their perspective. What's going on in this match? Right? And they're like, I don't know. All right. And so then I go, and sometimes they have an idea. And they go, hey, I'm coming to the net. I'm winning at the net. I'm like, I will keep it up.
Yeah.
Right. But I'll ask 4 questions. How are you winning your points? How are they winning their points? Mm-hmm. How are you losing your point?
Yeah.
How are they losing their points? Because what you want to do is you want to mitigate how they win their points. Mm-hmm. And you want to do more of how you win your points. And you want to do less of how you lose your points. And, and so you make a 1% change in those things, you can turn a match.
That's a massive difference between a 6-4, 7-5 loss and a 3-set win. And it's just a couple percent here and there. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. It's like, hey, don't feed the forehand.
Right. Simple stuff.
Well, that was good stuff right there. I'm writing this down really fast.
He's taking notes because Craig has been, of course, he's a director of tennis and does so many things, but he's out of his generosity of heart. He has taken on a JV high school team locally.
Oh, Craig, we have to get on a call.
We got to.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
Bill, we've got 2 more important questions. One is a quickie, and the other is whatever you want it to be. Let's start with the quicker one. It's from Rick Eckloff, who's a frequent listener and a vastly improving player. He's exactly your size. He's a tall guy, about 6'2", 6'2.5". And
all right.
His question pertains to your points about not just sleep but hydration. Tell us how much you did such a great job of telling us how much sleep most elite athletes and most people should require and should hold themselves to. Tell us about hydration for a guy, let's say your size, and maybe you can scale it down to a woman who might be a bit smaller and lighter.
Right. Well, it's funny. I'm gonna sidestep that one. So I'm gonna say, we're going to qualify this by saying, do your own research.
Okay.
Right. And I will also put a little scare tactic in there, right? Because, it's well noted that one of the worst hazing things that happens at colleges is when they force people to drink way too much water.
Too much.
Right. So, and it can lead to brain injury and death.
Yeah.
Right. So they just forcibly make people drink and drink and drink and drink. So, yeah, don't do anything obsessive. Thank you.
Yeah, right? that can throw minerals off too. That's not great.
Right, right. So, one formula that I've heard that I like is that you should drink half of your body weight in ounces, and that's sort of minimal.
So, if you're a petite woman who's 100 pounds. That's 50 ounces of water.
50 ounces. That's so doable, and that is minimal.
That's not even a gallon. That's not even half a gallon.
And so, right. I mean, it's like less than half a gallon.
Yeah, it's 50. Right? Half a gallon is 64.
But then you can strive to add 50% to that. Mm-hmm. So on a good day, I will drink a full gallon of water. So 132 ounces, 128 ounces of water. Yeah. So, if I'm out in the sun a lot, I might not even make a dent in my hydration doing that.
Yeah, because you're losing a lot sweating. Right. Yeah.
So I would say safe is to do half your body weight, and if you find that difficult, then don't do more than that. But then as you sort of get yourself trained to do that intake and it's getting more comfortable for you, then you can slowly increase. One thing I asked for Christmas was 22-ounce glasses.
More than a pint, way more than a pint. That's awesome.
Yeah. So and then, frosty beverage goes in there nicely as well. But, I like to have my big glass because then I don't have to return to the refrigerator that as much.
Yeah.
So
I was sitting here looking, seeing how much water's in. This is 20 ounces right here. So we're looking at about 5 of these for me. I'm about 200.
Yeah. So
interesting.
Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong if you do your body weight in ounces, half your body weight in ounces plus 50%. But don't beat yourself up if you can't immediately.
Yeah, Rick will go more than that. He works out a lot in his garage gym, and of course tennis a lot too. All right, next one. This one's from Amanda Fink. We've got 2 really good ones. Yes, you know Amanda very well.
Mermaid under the sea, down where it's wetter. She and I are going to be singing some duets pretty soon.
I bet you will.
We might have to televise that. Amanda Fink.
We'll record it. We'll put it to music. We'll have a good time with it. She's asking a couple of great ones. One is about the well-educated student, be it an adult or a high school kid, who goes down some rabbit holes in this environment of internet coaching, right?
Oh man, this is a great question.
This is a fantastic one, yeah.
Oh man.
So Amanda's asking, number one, when they go too deep, what are some good basics to help with their clarity and help them improve their games very simply? And of course, she said besides brain health, which is very important, and of course hydration.
You mean YouTube doesn't have all the answers? Golly.
Well, okay. So the first thing is that you should shame them. No, don't do that. No, I'm kidding. That's the joke answer that starts it off, and now you're more receptive to the real answer.
Right.
So I get this a lot. No, I actually don't get it too often, but every once in a while I get so the first thing to do is affirm their motivation, right? Because this is a symptom of a very motivated player.
Yeah, curious mind.
So kid gloves, had to have kid gloves with that. And so, I mean, sometimes I have people send me stuff and it's just the worst thing I've ever seen in my whole life, right? I'm like, and my first urge is to say, well, that's great if you want to destroy yourself.
And you say it so nicely.
Yeah, that's what I would want to say, but I can't. So let me give you the best example. I had a guy, and he's a big athletic guy, but he never played sports. He was like a rock and roll guitarist. So he just made up his mind, okay, it's time for me to start playing a sport and get healthy and play tennis, right? So he picks it up quickly, and then he's like, he finds these videos, and he's like, hey, what do you think of this video, right? And this is when I made my transition from it's okay. Because I used to think it wasn't okay. I thought I'm so good. I'm such a great coach. I don't want to hear anything from the outside. Don't poison my voice, right? And so there's an ego component to it. Coaches' egos need to maybe step back a little bit. So this guy shows me this serving video by this genius Japanese coach who teaches without talking. So it's all
demos,
modeling,
demonstration models.
And he's building the serve from the inside out. And I'm like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen, right? So I was like, wow. I'm like, thanks for sharing that, right? I mean, I think that's awesome. So yeah, absolutely. Bill Patton, seal of approval on that one, right? And then I've had some other ones that are maybe a little dubious. So then I go, okay, let's really look at this, because I want to train your eye to detect things that don't work. And then what happens in that interaction? You just gave great value to your student, because now you're helping them develop a discerning eye for what's good and what's not so good.
Yeah.
So now they come to realize, oh, I have to be careful with what I consume on YouTube, because 15 to 20%, if I'm being generous, is really good, but 80% of it easily is garbage. The other day I had somebody who subscribed to my YouTube, so I looked at their YouTube and they were complimentary of mine. And then you know what your mom said, right? If you don't have anything nice to say,
don't say it at all.
Don't say anything.
Okay.
So I did not reciprocate with comments on his.
Well, maybe it should be said. Maybe it should be said.
Maybe it should, but he was great. He was living in gratitude,
your
graciousness.
Sucks, man. So I would say, but then, okay, now let's go a scenario that's not so helpful. Oh, here, Amanda. Here are 12 different videos I selected for you to evaluate. Yeah, not so fast, right? Hey, let's do this one at a time, right? And then another thing that pops up every once in a while is the player who wants to play like everybody but themselves. I don't get this one a lot, but one time I had this kid, and one day he's hitting a Federer forehand, an Nadal backhand, and an Andy Roddick serve. And then the next day he's hitting a Djokovic forehand and a Pete Sampras serve, because he's watching the video now. And I'm like, dude, you need to knock that off, because I'm not teaching you to play like them. I'm teaching you to play how to like you.
You, right.
Yes. Learn to play like you. And I mean, I had one kid who had this really uncanny ability to have Federer looking like strokes. He was a good little player, not quite as talented, but I'm like, he's making it work. I'm like, well, this is crazy. I mean, he just looks just like Federer. He's got the Federer clothes and the racket and the whole 9 yards. And I'm like, I'm not gonna make fun of this kid. He's making it work. So, my whole thing, I think what the most important thing is, what's the end result? Is the player modeling themselves after something that's realistic for them to be able to execute? Because like in my books, I say this, it's fine if you want to imitate Nadal, but do you have 20-inch biceps?
Yeah. Do you have the body type to pull that off?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, so, if you've got the 20-inch biceps, then go for it. But if you don't, probably not. I mean, he's a pretty unique character in the world. Okay, here we go. In 5 seconds, name another player that plays like Nadal.
Carlos Alcaraz?
3, 2, 1. So you can't.
We came up with one, Carlos Alcaraz. That's the only answer.
Does he play like Nadal?
Not exactly, but quite similar in.
Really?
And he's probably got 17-inch biceps, not 20.
Okay, well, so he's only 3 away.
Yeah.
He just needs a little more gym time.
He's only 19, 18, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the ultimate goal is for the player to play like themselves.
Yeah.
How they get there is in the ether. It's mysterious. Everybody's path is different. So if they want to look at YouTube, and you want to take a little bit of extra time and help them, guide them to the good stuff.
Yeah.
Great. And then you add value that way by your caring. Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
So, but then there's but you have to be careful to avoid the overthinking of it. Right. I recently rewatched The Princess Bride, and I realized it's now passé. It's not that funny anymore.
It didn't hold up.
But
for
I do love that Vicini character, right? Vicini says, therefore you, knowing I am not a fool, clearly do not put the poison in front of yourself, right? But what had the Dread Pirate Roberts done? He had developed a immunity to iocane powder. So that's what you want. You want your players to be immune from destruction, right? So so shot tolerance is a big thing.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times it's like Craig O'Shaughnessy says, you're the second most important player on the court. It's really more about how well do you mute your opponents than how well than your offense. You just taking away what they want to do is more important. So it's a multifaceted answer, but I think so if I were to summarize that, I would say, first, affirm them for being motivated, help them to be selective. 3, build your own library of good videos from people who bring them to you, right? So they're doing some work for you.
Yeah, secondary research.
And 4, help them to have a more clear vision of what the two of you are doing together, where their game's headed. And I'll leave you with this. So I have this kid, RJ, who's recently come back to take more lessons with me, and he wants to make his high school team. And so, I spend time thinking about RJ when we're not together. I reflect back on these lessons, and I go, who is RJ like, that I've coached before? Because he reminds me of somebody. And then I'm like, oh, you know what? He reminds me of Aaron and Preston, who are similar in their way of being, right? Similar physiques, similar, tendencies in the way they hit. So now I kind of have this template, and I told RJ this, I was thinking about you and I was thinking about how you're similar to Aaron and Preston. So now I have a little template for you where you're going to end up, but then you are going to have a lot of say-so in this. So as we go along, feel free always to push back on where is this headed. Because so my idea for this RJ kid is that he's going to be a crafty baseliner who then is very opportunistic about coming to the net and finishing points when he can, because I just don't see him becoming an overpowering baseline player. So he's going to have to be crafty in how he how he controls the point, and then he's going to have to take advantage of his opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
So, how did I do, Amanda?
Yeah.
If I didn't,
Amanda, give us the feedback, and we felt that was a well thought out answer for an improv one. So well done, Bill.
Thank you.
It reminded me a little bit of the confusion and lack of clarity that can happen if a coach isn't adding the kind of value that you are suggesting. So thank you for that. And I love that you used a couple of examples. I know Preston is one of the ones you've written about. He was in an important doubles match.
Oh, you actually pay attention when you read, don't you?
Oh, why not?
That's good. Yeah.
And
awesome.
And Bill, Amanda continues with a great question about. She says, "Okay, one more, last one before we go to the third set, right, Craig?"
Question hog.
Question hog. Apple for the teacher, really.
Okay. Yeah.
She's asking. Speaking of Preston and those guys, high school tennis is fantastic. It happens to be huge in Texas. We have something like 60,000 kids.
65,000.
65,000, yeah. So
I got to speak at the TTCA
down in Austin,
Get me back to Texas. I want to play poker.
It's so practical and good. So her question is, how do you get really good people involved? And I assume she means on the coaching side, but perhaps it's on the playing side too. How do you get good people involved in high school tennis and retain those people?
Okay. Well, who are good people?
Well, I mean, that's relative. Okay.
How about this? Get who you can get.
and mentor them well.
Okay. So here's a good quote.
Good.
And Arthur Ashe quoted this, but I think it comes from Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh, good.
Okay. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can.
That was Arthur, and I think of it as TR too, but that was
said something similar. All right. Yeah. So okay, so just imagine, school X out there, right? The Widget High School of Prescott, Arizona.
Yeah.
Widget High School.
I say we go with Skyline High School of Oakland, California.
Oh my goodness, you really do pay attention. I can't believe it. All right.
It's a gold star.
So, well, I mean, I think what you do is I think first, though, if you say good people, sometimes people think that means a tennis professional.
I see.
Right? And sometimes tennis professionals are not good people. So actually, what you want is somebody who loves kids.
Right.
Right. So start with somebody who loves high school kids, and they might not know anything about tennis. Right. But they can learn it. If they're willing to learn it, they can do it. Now, if you can find like a 3-0 or a 3-5 player who's a real enthusiast and wants to learn it not only for the kids but for themselves, that's good. If you start to get a 4-0 or a 4-5 for the better kids, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you an example. I had left this one school that I was at, and my boys had won the North Coast section, and my girls had pulled some major upsets in the previous season, but now I was gone. And the coach that was replacing me was a 3-0 player.
Uh-huh.
And the girls were calling me, "Coach, come back. We have this 3-0 coach. He's a 3-0. I can beat him."
Yeah, he's no good.
Right? Or, and I was like, "Hey, you know what, Stephanie? Chill. Because you know what? I know that guy, and he cares about you. So you trust him, right? Now, I'm going to help him out, but you have to trust him that he has your best interest at heart, because he's a super person, and he's going to love you kids to death. And he will learn what he needs to learn to do well. All right. So don't play this game. Support him fully." And now I'm going to talk to the people I know that are the captains and tell them that you called me.
Right. Nice. And hey, I should clarify. Amanda Fink, I paraphrased when I said good people. She said great tennis people. That probably doesn't change your answer, because I feel like
it doesn't change my answer, but thanks for that clarification.
Yeah. Thank you, Bill.
No, I understand. I understand. Yeah. I mean, and Amanda's not like that, but some people are. So anyway.
Well, you know,
anyway,
general just before she's going. Yeah.
The cool thing. Here's the cool thing. They actually far exceeded my expectations for the next season. They went into the playoffs as the number 1 seed, and they had all that pressure. Because the year before we were the 10th seeds, and we beat 7 and we beat 2. But they go into the playoffs as the number 1 seed with that target on them, and they just lay waste to the competition.
And you guys won the North Coast. They just
routined everybody, and I wasn't even present. And the coach the next day called me, and he said, you know what? The girls wanted me to thank you for having helped set that up, right? But see, that coach didn't wreck it. Right. So for some reason, we get these highfalutin ideas of who and who can't succeed as a tennis coach. And, you know, some of the greatest tennis coaches of all time never played above the 4-5 level. So coaching's a different nut. So I think the first you start with, do they love kids? Then you go, well, do they have any tennis experience? And that's a bonus. And then the more, the better. And then are they willing to work within the school in a way that functions with the school culture? You know, I've coached at some schools where I just didn't fit that school culture. So I didn't stay there because they didn't want to be good. It was an after school activity, you know, so they had no interest in really being good players. It was just a fun thing for kids to do after school. And sorry, homie, don't play that.
Homie, don't play it.
Where's the sock? I'll smack you on the head. Homie, don't play that game.
Love it. Well, Bill, this has been great, and we got to go to the third set. Craig Bell, you're up, and tell us who. Homie, don't play that. Who is sponsoring the third set, buddy?
That would be Master Systems and our buddy Blair Descaret here locally in the North Texas area. He might even come up to NorCal, you know, to see Bill and his posse up there, right?
I bet he will,
We'll have a glass of water.
Yeah, that's right. Blair would love that. Do you have any
coffee?
And some barbecue. Do you have barbecue up there?
You know what's funny? I think Texas barbecue is overrated because we have some very fine barbecue here. Oh, look at that. Oh, I saw that serious look you gave.
Yeah, AJ, that was AJ over there. He was
No, I saw Greg. Greg was like, are we going to allow this?
Oh, we might have to edit that out. You know, we might have to go
because we just lost all of Texas on that comment.
No, I've watched diners, drive-ins, and dives, and there is some good barbecue out there. Guy finds some excellent barbecue out in California.
Oakland has some outstanding barbecue. You know, I went to the Salt Lick out there, and I was like, okay, this is good. Franklin's, I guess, is the place to go, right?
In Austin.
They're actually very similar. But, you know, my experience, having lived most of my 20s in Northern California, it's soul food or it's all over the place where they mix your North Carolina style, Kansas City style, and very little of the Texas, the beef and dry rub style.
Yeah, we don't do a lot of brisket here. Yeah.
So it's a different thing, and it's just tough to compare,
like
particularly when you have a serious connoisseur like this cat.
Yeah.
Come on out, and we'll go get a plate.
My cousin's kid has a place in Virginia called Smoke, SMOAK.
We'll go get a two-way. We'll go get a two-way, and we'll get some hot links.
All right. Well,
you like some links and ribs?
Oh yeah. No, I'm up for that.
We'll set your mouth on fire out here.
That's more AJ. I'm not a fire guy. That kind of it goes in one way and comes out the other not too good. So I'll just leave it at that. So.
Oh man, right. And that's not going to get edited out.
No, that won't. First band you saw in concert, Bill.
Sammy Hagar with Boston.
Sammy Hagar in Boston. Wow, that's kind of like that's North Carolina and Texas barbecue kind of mixing together. That's an interesting group. I had never thought about that.
Well, no, it was the same concert.
Sure.
So, yeah.
They didn't sing together. I mean, the Red Rocker and Boston, Tom Schultz didn't get together and on stage at the same time.
No. Oil and water.
Okay. So, are you more of a Van Hagar or Van Halen fan? Since you've seen Sammy Hagar?
Well, not anymore. I I was more of a Van Halen. I was more of a Ronnie Montrose fan, but Sammy Hagar was no longer in the band.
Sure.
So yeah, Hagar and Montrose are from NorCal. Actually, they're from right across the bay from me.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
I like the Red Rocker. I didn't like him with Van Halen. I like Sammy with his own style versus Van Halen, because I think I go back in the 70s and early 80s, and I like more the Van Halen style as opposed to Van Hagar. Even though I like
yes, it's the Sammy Hagar Van Halen controversy.
That's right. That's right. We like to talk about all sorts of stuff right here. Who's your favorite band? What do you like to listen to?
I don't have favorites. Right now, I'm listening to a lot of worship music because I'm trying to keep my mind on Jesus.
Right.
You know, but one of my favorite bands of all time, rock and roll wise, is Audio Slave.
Audio Slave. Where are they from? Are they from San Francisco?
Chris Cornell got together with the three guys from Rage Against the Machine after they fired their vocalist, and put together 3 albums, and the first one is an absolute masterpiece. I think Chris Cornell is perhaps my favorite vocalist of all time.
Not Steve Perry?
Yeah.
It's Journey, San Francisco, man. Come on. Bay Area guy.
Not Steve Perry. That is an affirmative. Not Steve Perry.
Or Huey Lewis. I think, isn't Huey Lewis in the news? Aren't they from the Bay Area?
He lives in Marin.
I'm more of a grungy guy. I really love that. I love that Seattle grunge thing that was happening there for a bit. Yeah. Soundgarden, you know, and then Chris Cornell left them and went into Audio Slave and then started doing solo. And then he got to do the intro to a James Bond movie. That's worth a couple $1 million.
Oh, what a voice on that guy.
And actually, you get the 1%. You get the 1% on the movie.
Which one did he sing in? I'm trying to think.
It was one of the recent ones, wasn't it? Maybe
it was not too long ago. You Know My Name. It's the only Bond song that's not the title of the movie.
Of the film. Interesting.
You Know My Name is the name of the song. Check it out.
All right. Have to do that. All right. So next question always reveals about the personality of the person we're asking this question to. Where would you be in a band? If you were in a band, you might be in a band. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're going to ask you, lead singer, are you the drummer, piano player, guitar player?
I play the bass and dignify the position.
Nice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you play the bass guitar?
I'm your dancing bassist. You know, I'm the one doing. That's a Audio Slave song. Listen to that Audio Slave record and just listen only to the bass, and it'll blow your mind.
Was that Show Me How to Live?
It's AJ Chabria, the man with the photographic memory.
This guy, I'm telling you, he comes in.
Wow.
This is a little bit out of my genre, but yes, he's.
And you know, every time I go on a road trip, I watch that video before I go.
Oh, that's a driving
video, yeah. But you have to tune into the very end of the video because that's the spirit in which I travel.
Yeah, when it goes like this. No,
don't give it away. Spoiler alerts. No spoiler alerts. Watch the end of Show Me How to Live by Audio Slave video, and then when I go on a road trip, this is how I proceed. Yeah. Yes.
Wow, that's interesting.
That's funny.
Got a little more answer than you wanted on that one.
He went 4 or 5 bars. I was like, I definitely know this song.
Wow. Yeah, just exactly like it sounds, I'm sure.
Exactly. He just did the bass and the Tom Morello part.
He did.
He did the guitar part too.
Right.
No, that's just the bass.
That's
dude.
just the bass. Oh, it's crazy.
No, he's playing all that. It's nuts. It's really amazing bass. It's awesome.
Do you play the bass? Have you ever played the bass? Or
I was in a band for about 6 weeks and then I got fired.
Out there, NorCal, in that area? Did you guys travel?
Yeah,
around?
this was not it was the more colorful time of my life when things were not heading in the right direction.
I see. This was the troubled high school years. Right before 23 when he started tennis, right?
Right. Substances were consumed.
Uh-oh.
My nephew, he lived in San Fran and was in a band. They had the Limbs, Lymbs. Look, they're actually pretty good.
Oh, wow.
And they broke up, and I think they're getting back together again. They took a little hiatus.
Yeah.
So they were out hitting the San Francisco.
You need them.
Oh, yes, the limbs.
You need the limbs.
Yeah, everybody needs limbs, that's for sure.
Or you're going nowhere. You need the limbs. What are you going to do without limbs?
Yes.
Bands' names are hilarious. Anyway,
and this was Lymbs. It's Limbs. They were a little play on
bad spelling.
Bad spelling, yeah. So kind of like divorce tennis house, Haus, as opposed to House. So.
Yeah, he went with the German spelling. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
First paid job. What was your first paid gig?
I was flipping burgers at Jerry's Hamburgers on East 14th in Oakland.
You know where that is?
And that lasted all of 3 days.
3 days.
How many burgers did you make in those 3 days?
I couldn't cook fast enough. I got yelled at every day. And then I was finally just said, I'm not coming back.
You didn't make it to fry cook?
You fired yourself.
No, I was a fry cook. I was cooking the burgers.
I thought that's the big money.
I was 15 years old, and I had no business doing that. I'm like, you do it.
Yeah, no, I've never. I slapped burgers at the country club, but or the racket club in Oklahoma City, but not for Jerry's or McDougal's.
Yeah, McDougal's.
They don't know what he doesn't know what I'm talking about.
That's got to be Coming to America reference.
The great Louis Anderson, when he goes, fry cook, he goes, that's where all the big bucks are. That's right. Favorite movie, TV show? What do you like to watch? Are you a Netflix guy? Yeah, Amazon.
One of my favorite shows of all time. I'll give you two.
Okay.
Right? Because I'm not going to give you a standard answer because that would be boring.
Yep.
Right. One of my favorite of all time is called The Guardian.
Uh-huh.
You remember the guy who was in The Mentalist? What was his name? The actor, Simon Baker.
Yeah.
Simon Baker, as a lawyer who got busted on drug charges, and now he has to do 1,500 hours of pro bono work in inner city Pittsburgh. And the story, the writing, the acting, the glacial character changes that happen in people in that 3 seasons, and the most perfect ending to any series I've ever seen. You get to the end and you go, that's perfect. That is what was supposed to happen. And then you're done with it. You never have to ever watch it again. And then the other show that I liked was called The Unit. And it was about a special forces group. So it's like a black ops thing. It's off the books. They do all the secret bad stuff. And also great acting. And it shows you, it's probably a little too close to the truth.
I was going to ask you.
Shows you the soft white underbelly of how things get done in this world. And then you don't like it when you see it.
Yeah, it's like eating meat or something like that. You just look at it and go, oh, that's good meat, and then you start peeling back the layers. You're like, oh, that's not really.
Those that see laws or sausage should see neither made.
No.
Laws or sausage.
Yeah. One time I showed a couple minutes of an episode to the unit to a meeting where 71 kids came to try out for the team. Mm-hmm. And then only 55 showed up at tryouts because I scared 16 kids away just by showing 3 minutes of that show.
It's like, ooh, Coach, I think I might go out for the track team.
Made my cuts a lot easier.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Breakfast, lunch, or dinner? Are you a breakfast guy, lunch guy, dinner guy? I
eat regularly. Mm-hmm. It's funny. I have a very non-traditional way of eating. So I think it was Winston Churchill who said, eat when you're hungry, sleep when you're tired. So, I have a very, very weird way of eating. So, sometimes I'll wait until noon to eat because I'm doing a little bit of a little fasting, intermittent fasting. I start every morning off with a tablespoon of coconut oil in my coffee. And that's helped me lose 40 pounds.
Wow. Coconut oil in your coffee.
Yeah, you're
coconut oil in your coffee. It takes away some of the acidity from the coffee. It gives you a medium chain fat, which trains your body to use fat as energy instead of just storing it in your gut. And then also kind of helps with sugar cravings, because when you're getting healthy fats, you don't need to eat as much sugar.
Interesting. How'd you figure that out? Or did you read this?
I read it somewhere. Somebody smart said it, and then I tried it.
Wow. Interesting. So you've lost 40 pounds.
I do that a lot. Yeah. Wow. Do you like my simple solutions to life?
Yeah.
Somebody smart said it. I tried it. I liked it. Right. And then I went forward with it.
Right.
You see that?
Yes.
Good logic.
Yes.
Very impressive. It's like,
yeah.
Should I go to the net? AJ? Well,
probably I make sure that I get a really good portion of red meat once a week at least, because you need some red meat in your life.
That's not bad. I like that. So it doesn't matter, barbecue or steak or, you like.
Yeah, I usually go for like a high-end burger. Yeah. My club has Kobe burgers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Ooh.
Good beef.
So good.
But not Jerry's, huh?
Jerry's. I won't be returning to Jerry's anytime soon that I know of, Craig.
Is it still around?
The next time I'm there, I'll text you.
Is it still around? Is Jerry still around?
It's still there.
Yeah. Next time you're there, send us a picture of Jerry's.
Oh, it's the perfect 1950s burger joint. It's just how you imagine. I'll take a picture of it, and you'll go, oh yeah.
Is it the sort of glass and the
yeah, it's got the slanted glass and the Art Deco sign, and the sign where you hang the letters.
That's it. I love it.
Yeah.
They still have it.
Has a 1937 Studebaker out front, something like that.
Could be.
All right.
Could be. Or a visage of an animal or something. Yeah.
All right. So speaking of food, all right, we like to ask this question of everybody because we've had some interesting guests. I think we're going to have some interesting guests at this soiree or party or hoedown or shindig, as we called it in Oklahoma. You can invite 4 or more dinner guests. We know AJ and I. We're on the approved list for Bill Patton. Who would you invite to this particular party? Maybe a dinner party or a breakfast party.
I can have 4.
No, you can have as many as you want. So who would you invite?
I'll just do 4 because we don't want to be here all night with this one, right? Obviously, Jesus, because of the eternal ramifications of that, right? And then I just got done reading a Mark Twain biography, so Mark Twain's going to be there.
Interesting, yeah.
And I'm in the middle of Thomas Paine, so. Mark Twain was the most successful author of the 19th century, and Thomas Paine was the most successful author of the 18th century.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then I'll go with Winston Churchill because that's my next biography.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
So I can go, hey guys, I just read all about you. Hey, was this guy lying when he said that?
Right.
Right. What do you think? Hey, do you see how we've been misinformed about you? Yeah.
Winston Churchill would be great. I'd be really fascinated to have Winston Churchill because I think he pretty much single-handedly won the war, World War II, kept Hitler. I mean, because he was getting.
It took more than one person.
Well, I know,
Craig.
but he was getting his ass bombed over there in London. He's about to go down, and
them holding on was definitely pivotal.
Yep.
Yeah, because if they had caved, then it would have been over.
Yep, we would have all been speaking Germans. It'd be Sprechen Sie Deutsch, Yeah, that's
right.
But yes, I agree.
I think also, Patton's Third Army going, because Patton was hell bent on getting to Berlin before Montgomery.
Yes.
So that competition, I think, also helped because, I believe that the firing of Patton and the whole slapping incident was actually a false flag event.
Interesting.
so that Patton could be a free agent, and then they would put him somewhere where the Germans didn't expect him. Because I think they were surprised when he ended up in North Africa.
False
with the
flag.
Third Army. I think that whole thing was staged as a ruse to throw the Germans off. That's my pet theory.
Is that the 8th season of The Guardian or The Unit? When are they going to reprise this storyline, this false flag?
Oh, my goodness.
No way.
Yeah, it's too good for TV.
It's too much.
Can never be produced. Yeah.
Even a false flag like this.
Yeah. Anyway.
So are you related to General Patton? Just out of curiosity, I know you had the.
It's possible. Okay, so in my family history, it says that the original William Patton was in northern Scotland, and then he was sent with other loyal Presbyterians, loyal to the crown, to Northern Ireland, where they became known as the Ulster Scots, the biggest troublemakers of all. That doesn't surprise you.
That's you.
Hooligans.
Hooligans, troublemakers, right?
Right.
So then they were summarily dismissed to the New World. So then my family arrived in the New World. And then it's interesting because my family came through Virginia, and so did General Patton's family through Virginia. And then mine settled in eastern Ohio, and his in western Pennsylvania. So if we're related, it's probably somewhere in Virginia.
I bet you there's something.
I'm not all that interested in doing all that research to try to find that out, but I do have actually a family tree of his that I can investigate if I ever feel like it.
Yeah. So he'd be a good guest also too. I'm going to add an addendum and say let's bring old General Patton into this dinner party, because Winston Churchill, Jesus. I mean, he's definitely a guest at my party, because
he's been on the show before.
Oh yeah, he's been several times mentioned.
You've had Jesus on the show?
No,
yes,
mentions.
What has he had to say?
Yeah,
meaning mentions of how an incredible dinner guest he would be.
Yes. Yeah, we'd like to book him. If you know how to book him, then we'll take him. I'll put him on the show next week. We'll bump John Yandel.
Well, he's supposed to come around again, so so it's just a matter of time.
Thing is, it's when we least expect it.
I think by that time you will have lost interest in your idea.
That's right. There'll be more important things going on in the ether.
Might be. Sunrise, sunset. Are you a sunrise, sunset person?
Oh, I wish I didn't wake up at like 5 a.m. every morning, but I do. And so I start writing pretty much at 5 a.m. Generally. And then so I try to get to bed a little bit early. And then to get my hours of sleep in, I usually got to hit a 45-minute nap in the afternoon.
Just take a little power nap, cat nap.
45 minutes is pretty solid, mister.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
What's your favorite season? Are you a summer, spring, winter, fall kind of person?
Oh, summer. Give me blazing hot. This guy's a lizard. All those sissies out there who can't handle 100 degrees, So the hotter, the better. I'm just loving it, right? So, yeah, I don't. And out here, we have maybe 3 weeks of something you would call winter, right? And then the rest of it's just kind of a late fall thing. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not really big into 51 degrees with 15-mile-an-hour wind. It's just that's not my thing.
No, that's not. I could live in Honolulu. Yeah, personally, I should have been a tennis pro there. Yeah, that's like Mark Kyle.
The best weather.
Oh my gosh,
always gorgeous.
I love going to the South, though, and visiting the humidity for a little while. I do love that. Most Californians are not big fan. We complain if it's anything near 70% around here.
Oh, yeah. That's why I'm here. We have indoor courts here. We're at my facility. That's courts 1 and 2. There's a lot of good work going on there in the summertime when it's 120 on the court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And about 80% humidity. So we like the indoor environment.
That'll get you.
Favorite holiday? What's your favorite holiday?
Well, it's got to be Christmas.
That's always a good one.
Yeah. And that's pretty, I have adult children now. So that's probably the one where we can really count on everybody being home. Thanksgiving is a little iffy. because, my son is in Portland and my daughter's in Santa Barbara. So they don't always come this way for everything.
But in both nice places, Portland and Santa Barbara. I was sitting there going,
north and south.
Yeah, I've never been to Santa Barbara, but I've heard it's really nice. I'd like to venture out to your area. Actually, I've never been to San Francisco either.
Oaktown, San Francisco,
No, I've never
Berkeley.
been up there. Southern Cal.
Well, if you get out here, we'll take you around.
Yeah, show me the sights.
Yeah.
Show me Jerry's.
Fun.
Can we go to Jerry's?
We'll go for burger, Jerry's, for sure. I'll break my Jerry's fast for you.
That's funny.
What do you like to do in your spare time?
Read. Spare time.
Yeah.
What
if
is
you
that?
have any,
It's
talk on the
time.
podcast.
Wait. How do you differentiate spare time and all other time?
If you have any spare moments in your day, do you enjoy just reading?
Well, I think one thing people have to realize is that I've been retired for 32 years, this is how I get my players to relax. I'm like, look, you're over there working really hard. I'm goofing off. Then you're going to pay me? How is that fair?
Vacation.
Right.
That's a terrible transaction, right? And then they're like, wait. I'm like, yeah, you better start goofing off like right now, because otherwise it's just not fair. So yeah, I do this instead of work.
Spring break every day.
So I just do what I do. I'm not like, oh, I have spare time. I just do what I do. So I'm reading a lot. I'm writing. My wife and I like to go out to dinner. I like to, tease people and make fun of them, but only if they're laughing. Yeah.
You're good.
I have a funny story to tell you. This is amazing. All right. So, my club came up with a new cocktail menu.
Uh-huh.
Right. And so, Friday night they hosted a special, taster thing. So people had flights of these strong cocktails because they're not messing around. I mean, they're expensive. So we're going to put alcohol in them. So apparently all the ladies from my clinic on Saturday morning were at that thing, and we're having multiple flights. Right. So here I am at 9 o'clock in the morning for the 9 a.m. clinic, and I have 1 out of 8 ladies. Right. And then when she comes, she's like, oh, by the way, Bill, it's good. People are going to be coming in a little bit late and probably a little hungover. Right. And it was like the wobbliest group. So I was not particularly gentle with them. They heard it from me, and we were having, and then, balls are whizzing past my head, right? Because we're hitting out of animosity now. So that's how those ladies' clinics can be.
And that's number 5 on your list. Alcohol is bad.
That's right.
I wrote it down.
Right.
I paid attention. See, I was thinking.
You are.
I was
You're
a big
almost
thinker.
as good as AJ.
Almost. I'm getting there. I'm trying. I'm pedaling fast. He's one of those guys that has the big wheel that kind of keeps going. But I got the little one. I got to pedal
in
fast.
Time, Craig. You'll get there. You'll get there. I believe in you, Craig.
I'm trying. I'm trying hard.
Yes.
Now, all right, let's work this back to some tennis questions before we let you go, because we've already spent a couple hours with you.
I love this. By the way,
great.
I have to say, I love this conversation, and you guys are the best. So let's keep going.
It's been very convivial. That's my first convivial of the night. Usually,
that is crazy.
Immaculately so.
I got it down to one convivial.
Immaculately convivial.
Yes, and
yes.
So indoor
and pungently and immaculately convivial. I knew that word was going to come up, so I was ready.
You're ready for it.
Yes.
Indoor tennis or outdoor tennis? What you like?
Oh, outdoors, because you know what tennis is? Tennis is 6-7 in the third set tiebreaker with the sun in your eye and salty, sweaty sunscreen going in your eyes. You're hitting a second serve, and you nail it, and you serve and volley, and you save match point.
Love this.
Yeah.
You can't do that indoors.
No, you can't. Not in here. But it is nice inside. I'll have to admit, I do
now,
like it.
Tennis is torture.
All right.
Here we go.
Most embarrassing moment in tennis?
Oh.
You have 1 or 2? 3 or 4?
Well, I probably have too many.
Oh.
Oh, no.
Or is it a coaching moment?
Oh, no, I was playing a tournament. And the zipper on my shorts broke.
Oh.
The zipper, because I had so it's like, it was an interesting pair of shorts, right? Because they weren't pull-on shorts, right? So they had a zipper. So the button at the top, and then because you had the button at the top,
sure.
and then you had the zipper, and so that broke. And so I'm in the middle of the point, and my shorts are coming off. But I don't have the sense to stop playing the point because I have to win the point first. Then I can pull up my shorts, right?
Right.
Priorities.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so after that I had to go to the tournament desk, and it was the hunt for the baby pin.
The safety pin.
Safety pin. We had to hunt for a safety pin so I could keep my pants on to keep playing that match.
That's great.
Did you end up winning that match? Just out of curiosity?
No, it was a tough day at the office.
Oh, well. Next time.
Yeah.
Always another time. Yeah. Favorite tournament? What's your favorite tournament? It can be any if you played in, you've coached at.
Yeah, it can be a slam or something you've played in.
So there's a club that AJ probably knows, AVAC.
Almaden Valley, yeah, down near San Jose. Almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they hosted this annual doubles tournament for NTRP players. So there was no singles at the event. And so they had, and it was extra points. It was bonus points to play in this event. And so my partner and I were definitely keen on, getting some points. So we came in as a 5 seed, and then we ended up beating 3 and 2 because somebody else beat the 1 seeds. Mm-hmm. But so imagine this: so that they had 3 sides of the court were surrounded by a deck that's elevated by a good 20 feet, right? Oh. So above the fence is this deck, and people are looking almost straight down onto the court. And we're playing a team that everybody else knows in the finals, right? So we hit a great shot, nothing, right? We hit a weakish lob, and they crack an easy overhead. Everybody's going nuts, right?
Right.
So we won 6-7, 7-6, and then they had 11-10 in the third set tiebreaker, and they hit an overhead down at my feet, and I stuck my racket straight down, and the ball went off my racket, and for an offensive lob 3 inches over the top of the racket.
Unreal.
And then we won the next 2 points like that because they were in shock that they didn't win the match. And then, my partner and I, jumping up, and we're like, how do you like us now? There were times in that match that when one of us had made a great shot, I would go to them and I would clap for them.
You're probably the most hated man down there now.
Oh, man. It was so fun.
Yeah.
Oh, the antagonistic crowd made it so amazing. And then, but I was like, this is how you clap for a good shot. And, nobody liked us, but I didn't care.
That's right. You got the trophy.
Yeah. I mean, what's important anyway?
Right. Do you like to watch tennis on TV, on the tube? Do you watch?
Not at all.
No, not at all.
It has to be a super compelling matchup. It's going to have to be a final featuring the top 3 to get me to watch, because I just don't have time for that anymore.
Right.
But in my life, I've probably watched 100,000 hours of tennis on TV. Yeah. So there was a time I really loved it. Now it's like watching paint dry. So no, I'm so busy trying to write things. So I'm trying to, help tennis that and, write things and contribute, that it's actually a distraction.
Yeah. So would you want to take people like down to Indian Wells? You take like a group or?
Oh, yeah. I would love to do that. Yeah. But they're going to have to lift some restrictions before that happens.
That's right.
I see what you're saying. Yes.
I am not at all happy that, the rest of the world is lifting restrictions and they are not. So currently you have to be vaccinated to go. And so I'm like, well, what about people who have a religious exemption? I mean, it's against their religion to take a vaccine. What about them? Is that not discriminatory? Right. What about people who have contraindications? There are some people who have been told, don't get vaccinated. So now you're just doomed. You just don't ever get to watch tennis at Indian Wells ever again. That to me is discriminatory. And I have yet to hear a convincing argument about why that's okay. Because, if they said black people can't go or women can't go, then there'd be a really big problem. But healthy people can't go, and certain religious people can't go, and that is not a problem. Yeah. So, that just doesn't make sense to me. But people go, oh, it's a private company. And I'm like, well, private companies can't discriminate.
Yep.
Good point. That way. So
I understand. Favorite tennis player? Who's your favorite tennis player? Just out of curiosity. Or players?
It's so hard. You know what? If I have to go with just one, it's got to be Guga.
Oh, I love it.
Huh.
Guga, man, Guga was just the dude. I mean, he was just like, I mean, there are others like him, like I like Yannick Noah, but Guga is maybe one of the most, and I would say like Arthur Ashe, just an amazing human being, just a beautiful soul, right? And just radiated that warmth, and everybody loved him. And I mean, I was a huge fan of his. And when he was retired and had all of his hip issues, I was like, oh no.
Bill, do you
I remember him going? I remember him going backhand to backhand with Agassi and winning.
Whoa,
dude, he would do that. Yeah. He could go back with a one-hander.
Yeah.
His super flat one-hander and just break Agassi's backhand down.
He beat him he beat Andre with a lot of backhand and backhand rallies in that Lisbon final. I believe it was straight sets too. And I think that's one of the matches that typifies not just the joy, but the tennis that you're talking about. Bill, do you remember Guga's speech when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame?
I didn't see all of it, but I got the gist of it, and just had his dedication to his brother and all that. And that just typifies, that sweetness of spirit of his, and how, because I mean, unfortunately, some people are, ashamed when they have a relative who's, has got an infirmity like that, but he celebrated it.
Yeah, Guga was a special player. I loved his hair. Because I had straight hair. I was just like bored straight hair.
I like the bobbleheaded walk.
the towel, bite the towel, the neck like this.
How tall was that guy? Like 6'1", 6'2"?
More. I think he's about 6'3.5". Yeah.
But it weighed about 160.
Plus the hair.
Plus the hair.
So 6'4".
That was 6'4", or something like that. I just remember he was fun to watch.
Big hair.
Big hair. He was in our big hair contest.
God bless you.
Yeah.
Amazing guy. Yeah.
Thank you.
Did you have any superstitions or rituals? Did when you played tennis? Did you kind of like Rafa? Rafa, you have some superstitions, don't you?
Oh.
Always, no.
Well, one of them's not suitable for work, so I don't know. I can't tell you that one.
Okay.
But
did you not like walk on the line? Did you not step on the lines, or did you?
No, I mean, I was really more about, kind of following kind of the 16-second cure thing and just having routines. But then also realizing that sometimes there are things out of your control. So, I've never, to my knowledge, had any obsessive compulsive behaviors when it comes to superstitions. I've always said statistics are for losers, and superstitions are not really necessary. It's how well you play today, right? So there's no secret sauce. Hey, this reminds me of something, right? So you know how teams will get together and they'll do their big, right? They'll, or they'll have a saying, they'll all chant together or something. Right. I had a team that would do this. They would go, right? So we would do that immediately after the other team had done their big thing to pump up, right? This was the biggest, goofiest group of clowns I have ever coached. They were so funny. They'd be like, bleh. And then we would just kill them.
You'd play great because that's what matters.
That big pump up thing you did really, really helped you out there a lot, right? Because we're about to kill you.
That's a superstition or a ritual.
Effort.
Yeah, right there.
No, it was anti. It was anti-superstition.
I know.
We were mocking their thing,
right?
Right.
As a ritual. I know. You said you had kids. Did they play tennis? Did you have them play recreationally or competitive?
My son at the age of 11 told me this. He says, "Dad, I'm done playing baseball. I'm done playing basketball. Done playing soccer. I'm only going to play tennis, and it's not because of you." I'm like, okay. I'm like, little do you know, these are exactly the words I want to hear.
Right? That quiet.
So, yeah, I mean, he was a fine player. It's interesting how some kids are just wired differently. And he wasn't wired in a way that allowed him to accept errors. He's a little too much of a perfectionist to be really great at tennis, because there are going to be some errors that you make. So he's really hard on himself. But he ended up in high school, his team won the championship all 4 years he was on the team, and then as a senior, he was a captain, and they had their best results that they'd had in 25 years when he was on that team. And then when he was in college, he played on a club team, and he ended up being the number one player on their club team and had a lot of fun with it. So, in club tennis, the other teams get together and they go drinking after.
Yeah.
So he really enjoyed that. And, it's funny, he had a nice collection of trophies, but he pretty much threw them all out, and he kept the one that he got for being the number one player on the club team, and his little league championship trophy. Those are his only two trophies he kept.
Interesting.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, that is. And then
funny. My daughter, when she was 7, hands on hips, dagger shooting out of her eyes, she says, "I hate tennis," right? And I'm like, "Oh, honey, are you trying to hurt my feelings? Because it's not working," right? So anyway, she started swimming, and she became a pretty accomplished competitive swimmer. But injuries were her problem. When we were in that car accident, then I think that was the origin of some problems that meant that she wasn't going to be able to swim in college. But so she was still forced to come to some tennis camps because we didn't have another place for her. But we tried to schedule her away from tennis as much as we could.
Yeah, but at least she knows how to play.
Yeah.
She can get around the court if she needs to.
The funny thing is, she not only knows how to play, but I would catch her smiling and laughing while she was playing, and I was like, "I think I saw you having fun today." She thought,
"No, I didn't."
"No, I didn't." So, yeah, funny stuff.
So, what sport would you have played if it wasn't tennis? What
Football.
sport? Football, really?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that. Did you grow up playing football up there in the Bay Area?
That was one of my worst injuries that I had, was playing pickup football with future NFL players on Saturday afternoons.
Oh.
I got hit by a guy who later played 8 years with the Denver Broncos.
Ooh.
And I have this lifelong core injury along my spine from where he cracked me. And, in those days it was like, rub a little dirt on it.
You're right.
Get back out there. Right.
Come on, Patton.
I wouldn't even be surprised if I had actually had a fractured spine that day. So, like a little microfracture, not a broken back, but I did not feel good, and I have not been feeling good ever since then.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had Skyline High School used to be a hotbed for NFL talent. So yeah, three guys that I know of in the years around my year made it in the NFL.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's impressive out of one school like that.
Yeah.
Anybody play for the 49ers?
Or the Oakland Raiders?
Dwight Garner played for the Washington Redskins.
Mm-hmm.
Dwayne Garner played for the Denver Broncos. And Tim Norton played for the New England Patriots.
Mm. Yeah. Are you a 49er fan? Do you go to the games? And
I was raised a Raider.
Raiders.
I was getting there.
That's why we went with this colorway.
There we go.
I pretty much despise all things San Francisco, but I will allow myself to be a fan of certain players. Like I love Will Clark.
Oh, the Giants.
Roger Craig. Tom Rathman. Certain players I really enjoy on San Francisco teams, but I just don't. If it's not your team, you don't have that visceral excitement. You can't force it.
Mm. So you probably like the Snake, right? Kenny Stabler?
Yeah. Kenny the Snake Stabler. I was at the Sea of Hands game.
Oh, were you really?
Wow.
And I was also at the game when the Raiders bookended the Dolphins. The Raiders were the last to beat and the first to beat again the Dolphins when they had that 19-game win streak.
1973, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, 73, and it was played at Memorial Stadium, Cal, because the A's were in the World Series.
At the college,
so the football game was played at Cal.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
nice.
But no, I remember looking down and Stabler's falling, and he throws a duck to the guy with the worst hands on the team, who gets hit by 3 linebackers, holds on and wins. And
unreal.
Everybody went to there.
The Immaculate Reception.
Here's one more Raider story.
Yeah,
I believe I was at the game where the term the black hole was coined. 1975 AFC playoff championship between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Raiders, right? So the Steelers have the terrible towel.
Yep, the yellow towel, yeah.
What do the Raiders have? The Raiders have nothing, right? We don't do that stuff. We don't do that rah-rah.
No gimmicks.
Blah, blah,
No
blah.
gimmicks. So anyway, for this game special, they told everybody to bring something big and black.
Uh-huh.
So people were dyeing towels black, and they had black flags, and everyone wore all black. And the Steelers went 3 and out on the first drive, and 55,000 black-clad people waved their black things, and the whole thing turned into a black hole. And the only louder crowd noise I've ever heard in my life was when the Sharks beat Vegas in that game where Pavelski got hurt.
San Jose Sharks.
It was ear-splitting. You couldn't hear yourself yell. I was yelling, and I'm like, I can't even hear myself yelling.
You can't even hear yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That's loud. That's pretty loud.
It was so loud. It was pulsating.
So how many times did you go to the A's games? Were you there all the time?
Nope.
The swinging A's? You didn't like the swinging A's?
Nobody goes to A's games. Why would you go to an A's game?
No. Back in the day. No. Vita Blue and those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Dave Kingman.
One of the funny things about COVID is that every team got to have an A's crowd.
Sparse crowd.
That's true.
Nobody goes to the A's games. No, it's something that you do to pass the time. It's like, hey, I got nothing to do. Hey, you want to go to an A's game? Yeah, I haven't been to one this year. Let's go to an A's game. So
no, I'm thinking back in the 70s.
1 or 2 a year, maybe.
Back in the day, Jim Catfish Hunter, Vita Blue, Sal Bando.
A handful. See, Oakland's a football town.
Okay.
For sure.
That's the weird thing. Why did we ever let our football team go away? Because it's a football town. It's not really a baseball town.
Yeah.
Yeah, they won't go across the bay over to San Francisco because they're not 49ers people.
If anything.
No, a lot of people converted because they're angry about the first move.
I see.
Right.
And now they're double angry about the second move.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bad deal. So, yeah, Raiders, that was great. The Raiders and the Steelers back in the day. What a rivalry that was. Kind of like the Cowboys and the 49ers back in the early 90s. That was a pretty good rivalry as well.
Yeah. For sure. Definitely.
So what would you be doing today if you weren't involved in sports? What do you think you'd be doing today?
I don't think I'd be with us here. We wouldn't be talking. Yeah. I was on a bad path. So I say sincerely that tennis helped save my life, because coming out of that lifestyle that I was in, I needed something healthy to do to preoccupy me and get some exercise and get healthy again, because I was coming out of something pretty bad.
It gave you some meaning, gave you purpose, get up, get going, do something.
Yeah.
Have some goals.
I mean, it's something fun to do,
right.
and then you get a dopamine fix out of it too. So, it's been very important to me. And so that motivates me to give people the same kind of experience, because it's, when you stay involved in healthy things, it's Teflon for other problems. You know?
Oh yeah. I mean, making our avocation our vocation. What better way is that to spend a couple of hours out at the club having fun with people? I mean, I'm interested to have fun with people.
Yeah, and part of it is too, I think what motivates lots of coaches is they realize that if more advantages had gone their way, or maybe they'd made better choices, that they might have done better in their lives. And so then there's this motivation to help people do those things that maybe they didn't get to do or wanted to do or should have done, So part of what drives me is, that, there's a chance to redeem that old stuff. I mean, I think I was given, I didn't use my talent like I should have. I think I had enough talent to play at a pretty high level. But I didn't make the most of it. So, I'm not crying about it, but I'm determined to help people maximize what they can do.
Yeah. Well,
what a great guest.
You've written books. You've been doing all sorts of stuff. I mean, I think you've maximized a lot of people's potential.
Yeah, that's what drives me. It's shame. I'm just living a life of repressed shame. Should I start crying now?
Yeah. All right. Last question. We're rounding the corner. We always like to end this question with get your perspective on the great game. And we call it the great game because it is great. Tennis has been great for AJ, great for myself, great for you, obviously. If you're the commissioner of the great game, the great game has been entrusted into your hands, is there any change or changes you would make, or just leave it the way it is? And it can be on any level. Well,
I alluded to that earlier. I think that, there's a couple different things. One, players should be made available to the public somehow, like in golf. So tournament formats should probably change so that Friday is a pro-am day. So you've got this, lunch, businessman's luncheon, pro-am thing, and then you're selling all the tickets for the big weekend coming up. You sell a package, 3-day package, right? And then, playing some 10-point tiebreakers with the pros is the highlight of the day, right?
Sure.
So that would be one thing. And then, the dimensions of the court could possibly be changed to bring back net play, or the outlawing of the polyester string. So maybe you could say that they all have to play with gut, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to change. So that's a universal, and then, but you can play with any gauge you want.
Yeah, thin, yeah.
Right. So, but I mean, that's an example. I'm not tied to that idea, but the outlying of poly might be a good thing. And then also you'll have, I think, fewer wrist and elbow injuries of players because that poly is pretty tough on wrists and hands and stuff. So, I mean, I think those would be the two changes I would want to, explore.
Anything in high school? Because you've been around in the high school world.
Well, I would say in junior tournaments that all matches must be 3 full sets.
Wow, yes.
Unless there is some compelling reason not to.
Like weather or darkness.
Because once they start to allow 2-set matches in mitigating circumstances, that was the slippery slope, and now they're all that way, and now kids don't learn match momentum skills. And that's horrific. So yeah, I think all junior matches should be best 2 out of 3 sets. Junior tournaments that perform poorly at creating regular and reliable schedules ought to be banished. Because one of the most frustrating things for kids and parents is, oh, I'm sorry, the tournament is delayed for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Sorry. Oh, yeah, your match is going to now be in 3 hours. I mean, that's ridiculous because it's so easy to be conservative in your schedule and just put people right on court right now. I've done it over and over and over again. It's a complete failure of responsibility of those people to provide a good product. They don't care about providing a good product. All they want is all the money they can get, period. So they ought not to be so greedy and actually try serving the game. But I'm not too fired up about that particular thought.
Well, you got me fired up. What about doubles and mixed doubles for juniors? Are you?
Oh, man. Okay, here's one thing I did. I made doubles mandatory at my tournaments. Right?
Yeah.
So
smart.
Single elimination singles. Yep. And you want a consolation? Okay. You're in the doubles. So there you go. And here's the thing. Everyone mandatory signed up for doubles, but you can opt out. And then you know what happens? They play doubles.
Yeah, rather than having to opt in.
But you're not forcing them to because they can opt out. But then you can tease them for being a weenie for opting out. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, look at all the fun goodbye. Oh, but look at all the fun you could be having. Look at those doubles matches over there.
Yeah, I can see AJ doing that. He'd opt out, probably your tournament.
I love both.
Here's the funny thing about doing that. This is awesome, right? So every tournament that I did that, heading into the tournament, I'm getting some negativity. Oh, we don't really want to do this. But then, like the kid that was forced to do something fun, at the end, they're like, oh, man, that was great. I wish I'd done that sooner. I'm
I enjoyed that.
Yeah. It's like, we actually do know what we're doing here, and we're here to help you and to have fun. And then we would put kids together. And so they would just meet a stranger kid. If somebody didn't have a partner, we'd put them together, similar ability, and they're having a blast. I'm like, it's just the greatest game ever.
That's what it's about, man. Well done, Bill.
Yeah. Make them do it. See, I don't get it. When did people become so spineless that they lost the moral imperative to help people discover what's good for them?
Yeah, we used to play mixed doubles up in Oklahoma. There was a couple of tournaments where you had junior mixed doubles.
Not just boys doubles and your age.
Yeah, we had junior mixed doubles.
Mixed doubles thing for you. Here's what we used to do. So we'd act like a junior interclub, right? So you'd play singles, you'd play some doubles, and then all the official matches are over. And then we would get one guy from my club and one girl from their club and one boy from their, and we would play mixed club, mixed doubles. Every summer I was able to establish one new little lovebird couple.
Oh, love connection.
No, dude, we're like matchmakers out there.
Right.
Yes. Right, like Fernando and Noreen became Fernandareen.
The portmanteau, their names.
So, no, see, and that's another thing that's missing. So, yeah, I mean, getting out there for a little bit of mixed doubles, and, they all love it. All the kids love that when they can play boy and a girl on a team against another team. Married couples, maybe not as much.
Yeah. I want
teenagers, yes.
I want Nornando to come have a burger with Bill and maybe take a lesson one day at Sequoia.
Fernandareen.
They having the Kobe burger or they having the Jerry burger?
Nobody wants the Jerry burger.
Oh, okay. I'm going to remember that. I'm going to hit Bill up on that one day and go, hey, we got to go to Jerry's. I'm coming out to see my buddy Bill Patton in NorCal.
It'll happen.
Okay.
If I'm in country and alive, it will happen.
All right. Well, you can come to Dallas anytime. We'll take you to our favorite places.
Oh yeah, we got a place here in Addison.
I'll be checking flights in a moment.
There we go, Bill. Bill, what a great guest you've been, man.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you.
What a giving, generous, amazing, funny guy too.
One more time,
bud.
tell people how they can find you. Tell everybody how they can find Bill Patton right now.
Infinite.
Well, okay. My website is BrainSports.Coach. BrainSports.Coach. And you can go there and subscribe to my blog. And I'm putting stuff up there anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week. And it's usually like the latest stuff that I'm thinking about, or it's the best of. So there's some stuff that I produced with Sterling Strother about 5 years ago that's still, I think, really strong. So I'm bringing back some of these iconic blog posts from that. And then you can also get connected to my my YouTube. It shows up there and various things, but BrainSports.Coach, or you can email me, infinitevisioncoach@gmail.com, infinitevisioncoach@gmail.com.
And that's where they'll email you for those brain foods that
yes.
Yeah, that's important. I want to make sure people don't forget that.
So Bill didn't drink any water. Well, we've been drinking water.
He finished that 22.
This was full.
Oh, okay.
This was full. AJ knows.
I saw the 22, and then it went down to 0.
Oh,
We've been through 2 of these,
right.
So we feel pretty good. My man, go get some sleep, maybe some time with your wife before that. And what a great night, Bill. Thank you so much.
It was fun. I'm sad that it's over.
Yeah, no, it's fast. We're at 2:41 right now.
Unbelievable.
Crazy.
It is.
This was the joke.
I told you we might be able to fill up 2 hours.
I knew it.
Might?
We went.
We can go 3 hours. I got some. I got some more questions over here. If we want to go to the third page, I got another page that we can start talking about paranormal.
I don't want to stop. This is like a Joe Rogan interview.
I was just going to say we're at that level. Yeah. Maybe not in terms of viewership yet, but we're getting there.
Yep.
And we're grateful to you and Craig Bell. Well done, bud.
We'll come back. We'll book you on a second appearance, and we'll go the uncut version a little deeper into the deep side, like some bands do. They have deep cuts.
Deep cuts.
Yeah, we're going to go deep cuts with Bill Patton.
Next time, maybe we can, we can do it anytime. I'm open pretty much anytime. And then, maybe next time we can dig a little bit deeper into best practices of coaching.
Oh, I love this.
I also wanted to mention that I'm going to be publishing Tennis Strategy 101 pretty soon. So that's going to be an ebook. And it'll be. I'm going to offer it 99 cents, but that's a book that I think a lot of coaches are going to want because it cuts to the heart of how are we going to retain all these new players that came in during COVID. So
yep, well, very very nice. We're big supporters of Bill Patton and anything that you're doing, Bill. So we appreciate.
Thank you so much.
It was a bravo.
Guys, it was
Zulu.
So much fun. I'm serious. I'm going to be sad when we hang up, and we'll have to do it again soon.
No, we're going to get you back. We're going to get you back because we want to know conspiracy theorists on a couple different things. Paranormal.
We have so much more.
Yeah.
Let's do a
quantum physics.
Yeah,
let's do quantum physics.
Yes.
We'll do a 4th and 5th set with this man one Wednesday or one Sunday night soon.
Oh yeah. We've got some more questions. I haven't delved into those questions yet. So we knew that this was going to go along. And like I said, dude, we appreciate your time and all your great coaching that you've done and helped us out. I literally wrote several things down already on your. I got the app. I was writing stuff down, and so we appreciate. I was learning a lot.
Yeah,
I wasn't just sitting there, talking to people. I was actually, doing stuff over there. So, Bill,
I'm proud of you, Craig.
Well, I'm learning. Oklahoma, we take things. It takes us a little longer. We're like the little train. We're going uphill. Yeah. So, no, Bill, it was fun.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Good night,
Bill.
buddy.
Have a good night.
Bill.
Good night.
Thank you. Good stuff, CB. That was fun, huh?
Excellent evening with the General, right?
Love the General.
Man, that was a lot of fun. Like, and seriously, I was writing things.
Oh yeah,
down. I did have stuff here on the board, and then on the back right here, this paper right here. So I was writing notes, and so
beautiful.
Oh no, I was interested in what Bill had to say.
Folks at home, I know you were too, and hope you enjoyed it and learned a thing or two.
Yep.
Hit us with feedback. Hit Bill with questions. And once again, what a great night tonight. Thank you.
Yes, and so I guess we should play a little James Scott Campbell right there to take us away, Mr. Campbell, and get it rolling. All right, thanks for listening to Season 1, Episode 112 of At the Net Podcast. Join us next week as we'll be talking with another Bay Area person in Johnny Andel, a person that you know personally, right?
I've had lots of good times with John and learned a lot from him, too. So hopefully the folks at home, you'll tune in. That's at 8 p.m. Central next week, 1 week from tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific, 7 in the mountains, on our YouTube and Facebook page.
Also join us on Wednesday evenings. Sometimes we do a little thing called tennis shorts, don't we?
We get to find out what's in Craig Bell's tennis shorts. Wednesday nights, 8 Central on Instagram.
Lastly, be sure to like and follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and our other social media outlets. Plus, tell a friend of friends, and hopefully they'll like us and be netheads, right?
Love it. Thank you so much.
And that's the tennis news as it seems to us. Good night, everybody from Dallas, Texas.
Good night.